6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and sometimes a little crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Bill spending his evenings at kids' awards ceremonies. Huh?
Yeah. And as I was telling you, Jeff, beforehand, that those auditoriums, I've been to enough of these now that they get warm and dark. And if my kids aren't up there, I nod off a little bit. Luckily, no snoring last night, but yeah, nodded off a little bit. It was, there were some academic awards that our daughter Catherine got, which is really nice. It's one of those things where it is not about the kids.
That's a great name, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It
is. She's named for both of her great grandmothers.
Very cool.
So yeah, the great grandmother on my mom's side, and then the great grandmother on my wife's side. Yeah, which is oddly, that's how I was named as well. I was named for both my grandfathers. So my first and middle
William.
name. Yes.
That's a good hearty
Oh, it is.
name.
Although that was not supposed to be my first name. No.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's supposed to be my middle name. But luckily, my grandfather, who had that name the entire time, and grandfather on my father's side, when my parents told him, this is what we're going to name the boy, he sat for a moment, kind of gathered himself. He goes, that is one of the most special things that I've ever heard. Thank you so much. Then paused again and went, yeah, but could you do me a favor? What? And I said, make my first name his middle name. That way Eugene, he's not going to, and that way he's not going to be teased and everything else, the things that I had to go through. So again, even though he passed away when I was 6 months old, I owe him a debt, a huge debt.
Eugene's a great name.
It is, but it is much easier to be teased as Gene than Bill. It was much easier. And already I took enough. I did not have to have another thing. Yeah.
Speaking of name changes, they're changing some names in Colorado. Did you see this?
Yes, they are.
No more Squaw Valley. Squaw is going away.
Weird. Yeah.
So I looked this up. Weird. Squaw was originally Algonquin.
Algonquin, yeah.
Algonquin for woman.
Yeah, it's just woman. That's all it means.
And then it kind of became a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Kind of like, a loose woman.
Yeah. And part of it being like they talked back in the day, Native Americans refer to aspen trees as squaw's tongues because they'd wiggle all the time. And so that's it. Yeah. So that's what they were called.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's not necessarily derogatory per se about the term squaw. I kind of disagree with the idea that we're trying to take away some of these Native American words. I don't know. I think it's losing.
You want to talk about whitewashing? I feel like we're and the only terms we use are white people terms.
They are. And even then, I don't view, again, I'm not Native American, so I don't know. I can't speak to that. But from my experience with the word, it's not necessarily derogatory, and it opens the opportunity for education. To talk to the kids about why is it named this? That's a weird name. Haven't come across that before. Why is it named this? Oh, here it is, and here's the history of the place.
So Val Archuleta, he's a Republican running for Congressional District 1. He's the Republican nominee there. Tweeted about this morning because he is Indian.
Yeah,
and he goes, I'm tired of just us being similar, essentially dismissed, whitewashed right off of the culture. They're not taking white people off of labels of of food. They're doing it with Land O'Lakes and mascots and stuff.
Yeah, the Quaker Oats guy seems to be doing just fine. He's not. No, what about that?
And then he goes, we refer to each other as Indians when we talk about Indians, like in our own families.
Yeah.
Or squaw, we'll use those words. It's not offensive. So I thought that was interesting.
It's awful.
Just the left solving the big problems for us out there.
Yes, exactly. Because that's going to change your life. That's going to make things so much better. Everybody is so concerned about that. It's going to be so much easier to go to the gas station and the grocery store now that it's not Squaw Valley. No, it's so much better today. I already feel the positivity. Yes.
Part of me, though, is like, if that's all you're going to do is government, I don't mind it. I would love if just all point. Congress did was name post offices.
Name stuff and then put out what's the state bird or state flower or state song. You do that, we're good. Yeah.
In fact, I'd be willing to pay you to do that.
Exactly.
As opposed to coming up with stuff that's actually going to ruin our state.
I agree.
Speaking of things that are going to ruin our state, Jared Polis and the whole gas prices going up. The EPA is going to come in and start to add some mandates that are going to possibly increase gas prices in the city of Denver by 50 cents more per gallon. Heidi Gahnal is going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. She could have been gov. Yeah. She would have made a great governor. She's going to join us 7 o'clock hour on how she would address this if she was a governor. And then Congressional District 3 endorsement came out from the Colorado Republican Party.
Uh-oh. Is it a surprise?
Not really. So we'll get into the 8 of that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then the left going after the kicker in the Chiefs.
Yeah. And I pulled the audio. You asked me to, and so that's ready for it. It's the thing for me. He's speaking at Benedictine College, Catholic University. But the part for me is the kicker. That's who you got, the kicker for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a soccer player, and kickers in football are not real football players. And I speak of this coming from a person who made money kicking a ball. They're not the same thing. They're not a real football player. Are they a skill position? Sure. Is most of what they do in the game stupid? Yes, absolutely. Are they mostly worthless? Yes, absolutely. And this is coming from a soccer fan who could only make the NFL as a kicker. And I am saying they suck. And they don't they're not football players. And the idea that, hey, we've got a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champion coming and speaking, and it's the kicker. The kicker? I mean,
well, he's pretty popular among Catholic circles, but you and Larry David have the same approach. Have you heard that from Larry David before?
No, not at all. He's the kicker.
Yeah, Larry David was asked one time, I think this was by oh gosh, David Letterman, who said, if you could change football, what do you do? And he's like, I'd get rid of kicking altogether.
Oh, heck yeah.
Go 4 downs, no more extra point. But it is fun to watch. I like watching the teams race down, get within just enough for them to try to kick a game-winning field goal with 1 second left. I think that's so cool.
Oh, I hate it. You know why? Because it's an almost score. We don't give in any other sport. We don't give anybody points for trying. You made it close. Here's some points for trying. Here's your try points. It's not the same as a score, but it's half. I mean, in basketball, we don't give them 1 point because they hit the backboard. I mean, it's just stupid. It is ridiculous. It's not like you get enough fouls and they're like, oh, well, take a base. You can do a run. You can get a run all the way around because you hit enough fouls. It might as well give you something out of it. It is a consolation prize. It is stupid. And field goal kickers are not real football players. And again, it would be like your school coming to you after your 4 years and saying, we finally got a commencement speaker that is worthwhile. You have spent 4 hard years working here, and we have found Tiger Woods' caddy. He's the guy that's going to be giving you the commencement speech. And you're like, that's not the same thing. Same thing. They got Tiger Woods' caddy. That's what they got.
In my circles, he's pretty popular because he's so bold on his kind of social conservatism and his Catholic faith.
His views can be great. He's still a kicker.
And And Benedictine College is one of the most conservative schools out there. But anyways, the left not happy with his commencement speech, wants him canceled, and they have now launched a petition. We'll play you the audio in the 9 o'clock hour. So we've got a full morning. It's going to turn out great. By the way, just coming up after Blake Olson's news, these Georgia voters, these black Georgia voters leaning towards Trump. It'll be interesting as to the reason why. You're not going to want to miss that. And then Ohio purges some of its voter rolls, find some non-citizens on their list. We'll cover that. But is it big enough to actually make a difference? We'll get out to all of this after Blake Olson's news. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Bill. It's going to be a great Thursday. 47, mostly sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story and investigation is ongoing following a deputy-involved shooting in Aurora. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says it happened at a home on South Himalaya Circle around 3:45 on Wednesday, and one person was transported to the hospital. No suspect information has been released, and authorities say that there's no threat to the community. Dismissal for Sky Vista Middle School was delayed about 20 minutes because of the shooting.
Oh, absolutely. I really think he has to debate. He might as well get it over with. Probably should do it early so that he can, he's not going to get any better.
That's President Trump, of course. Former President Trump and President Biden set to face off in a general election debate scheduled for June 27th, and then a second debate on September 11th. They were scheduled hours after Biden challenged Trump in a video posted to X, of course, yesterday. We heard that 24 hours ago about Trump on with Hugh Hewitt. And one of the big issues is Biden being owned by almost everyone in the world.
Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate in the truest sense of the word. He is being paid off by China, and he's being paid off by Russia, and he's being paid off and was by Ukraine. You take a look at that. Just look at it. I mean, the money is coming from every different angle. So he's worried that if he is tough, like I was with China, I took in $500 billion in tariffs. Not one president, and it was going up, not one president has ever taken in anything from China.
The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Colorado has announced that U.S. Attorney Cole Finnegan has submitted his resignation. Finnegan is stepping down after only serving a little over 2 years, and his resignation is effective on May 31st. President Joe Biden appointed Finnegan on December 1st of 21. While a specific reason hasn't been released, the attorney's office says he plans to return to the private sector. Governor Polis signed new legislation that requires handguns in unattended vehicles to be hidden out of sight and locked away. Lawmakers sponsoring the bill say the goal is to reduce gun violence in Colorado. According to the Denver Police Department, a majority of the guns reported stolen last year were taken from vehicles. The new law includes exclusions to antique firearms, law enforcement officers, members of military, and hunters. Police in riot gear have cleared Hamas supporters from the campus of UC Irvine, home of the anteaters, by the way, I think. Dozens of protesters on Wednesday occupied a building at the university. The LA Times says that about 200 police officers moved in on the crowd, made numerous arrests, and took down their tents. Activists at the protest say that over 40 people were arrested. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
Great move, McCarr. Lets it go. He scores! Kel McCarr floats one through Ottinger. And just like that, it's 4-2 Colorado.
The Avalanche avoid elimination, and they are alive in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Cale Makar, a pair of goals, 5-3 over the Stars. Game 6 in Denver tomorrow. Stars lead it 3-2. And
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Got him with a breaking ball.
And the Rockies had their first shutout of the year.
Let's go, Rock Show.
They have their first sweep in San Diego since 2013.
Drew Goodman and the Rockies have won 7 straight, 8-0 over the Padres. They start a series with the Giants tomorrow, and Jordan Beck 3 of 4 with a home run and 5 RBI. Nuggets try to finish off the T-Wolves tonight in Minnesota, Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals. Denver has won 3 in a row. They lead the series 3-2. It's 46 in Aurora, 42 in Boulder, 47 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS 5-day forecast is going to bring a lot of sunshine back to the Denver Metro today and through much of the weekend. High pressure over the four corners will allow for highs in the mid-70s today and lows tonight in the lower 50s. Upper 70s and some low 80s on the plains for Friday. Might get a little breezy to end the work week, but we're keeping it dry. Lows Friday night in the lower 50s. For the weekend, upper 70s, low 80s, isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right. MSNBC hosted a focus group in Georgia, and they're a little shocked with the response they got. Reminder, this is not Fox News. This is not OAN. This is not Newsmax. This is MSNBC sitting down. Now, you can't see, obviously, because you're listening on the radio. If you're watching online, you won't be able to see either. But the focus group includes 2 black people, a black male, a black female, and a young white man. And here's their response to Donald Trump.
Are they being impacted by this trial? Are they paying close attention? And what impact might a guilty verdict have on their decision to support the former president? Here's what they told me. Take a look. Do each of you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Yes. Yes for all 3 of you? Yes. Has this trial changed your opinion, even caused you to waver or question that at all?
No, it's actually caused me to support him more. I just don't believe there's a coincidence that we have a trial happening in Atlanta. We have one happening in New York. So the question people are beginning to ask themselves, like I did, is like, why now?
It's pretty much everybody says they're picking on him. You know, people are tired of going after him, and you see it in so many areas. It's really not a big issue in the party. Actually, they're really making everybody mad, and they look at a big bully, and the government is the bully.
This is going to be your first time casting a ballot. What is it for you?
But he still hasn't given up. He keeps fighting to do what's right.
I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump because now they find something in common with a political candidate at that level.
When you say they find commonality, what is that commonality?
They have felt persecuted by the system of American injustice. And it's not a stretch for them to think that Trump may be a victim as well. People see that there's some kind of commonality between himself and maybe all the black men that have been incarcerated and the families that have been impacted by black male incarceration.
Talking about the bully factor.
Yeah.
Is the bully factor starting to come into the equation with regards to the electorate? Now, the guy who brought up the bully factor was the head of the Georgia Republicans. But the lady at the end there, a black woman, and building that connection between what black men have experienced in this country and the feeling that the system is rigged against them, and starting to identify with Donald Trump. Bill, do you think there's any there? Is there any meat there?
There's some, but not a lot. And the reason being because they had 2 people. Two. Yeah. That is not a large sample size. I mean, that is not representative. You can't take any sort of a reasonable poll or focus group and have 2 people or 3. It's just statistically.
It's a conversation with the voter.
No, it is a conversation.
So the question is a conversation
it
indicative of something bigger?
Yeah, I don't see any indication that is indicative of something bigger. I thought it was interesting that the guy who was going to vote for the first time, so we're assuming that he is 18 to 19, talks about how Donald Trump's not giving up and keeps fighting. Dude, you were in middle school when Donald Trump was president. I mean, your perspective of what was going on and your grasp on politics, foreign policy, economics, and immigration. Yeah, sit this one out. I'm sorry. I mean, go ahead and vote.
Think so?
Oh yeah, go ahead and vote. But his perspective of it, his perspective and his situation of the dude that I saw in middle school. Think about who was your hero in middle school. Later on in life, same thing. I mean, there are times in which you're idolizing superheroes that don't exist. You're idolizing people that are action heroes, that are movie heroes at the time. It's your perception. Have you seen the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards? Have you seen those? I mean, again, I'm just saying the perspective of someone that is newly 18. Both 4 years ago and now, you're allowed to it, and I hope you vote, but I don't put a lot of value into it personally. I don't.
I do think that the bully factor is becoming something.
Which is ironic.
And so there's a few things to watch here. One, that young person growing up saw the impeachment trials. Russia collusion.
No, he didn't.
It was on the news.
He didn't.
His experience with the presidency.
He was a middle schooler.
Yeah, but they're paying attention.
No,
that's
they're not.
The world they're inheriting.
No, they're not. Like, here's the idea is it there and does it exist? But the idea that they are paying attention, no. I don't know what middle schoolers you're familiar with. Middle schoolers do not pay attention to politics on that level. He would be tangentially aware of it.
Yeah.
But paying attention to it? No. Does he understand the details? If you asked him right now, what were the 2 impeachment trials of President Trump? I would give you $1,000 if you get one of them right. I guarantee he misses them both.
Still, I think that's part of the universe he's inherited. He's seen that.
But it does also mean he's uninformed.
I think right now conversations within Democrat strategy circles we've got to figure out a way to pull back from these trials.
Well, that's already taken care of. They've all been delayed. The only one you're going to have is this New York one.
This New York one.
None of the rest of them are going to happen.
It didn't work out, but it didn't work out the way they thought it was.
But again,
the way they wanted it.
If the issue, again, the idea is you keep saying they, and I don't see
Democrat strategists.
I know, but I don't see this large cabal controlling it as if they wanted it to work out this way. They can be upset about the position they're put in, but I disagree that this has been coordinated, because if it was, it should have been a much better job. If you're going to coordinate it and you're trying to nail Trump, you don't lead with the New York case. There are other cases that you bring a little bit earlier, or you have a better idea of going after someone like Eileen Cann a little bit earlier on. I mean, that's the idea. The one trial that is really difficult for Trump is one that Cannon's presiding over in Florida, that we're not going to get until after the election anyway. So the idea that Trump is being bullied by the government and that now they're trying to muck up everything that he's doing, he's not going to be in court outside of this one. There isn't a single other case that's going to go to trial.
You can't just put the cases in isolation. It was his presidency, the way they treated him all the way through his presidency.
In what way treated him? The
impeachment efforts, all that stuff. The way the Democrats used the system to go after him.
Do you think that is the same or different than what was done with Barack Obama?
We didn't impeach Barack Obama.
No, didn't impeach, but you went after him. Yeah, absolutely.
On what?
On whether or not he was a legal citizen, about whether or not he was adherent to Sharia, whether or not he was going to...
That was all outside in the culture. There were utilizing
people,
the systems of the government to go after.
There were people inside of the legislative bodies that are representatives and senators that absolutely gave voice to that. And you have Mitch McConnell saying, we are now the party of no. Doesn't matter what Barack Obama's going to do. We're just going to say no.
That's
Same
different.
Thing.
That's
not necessarily, and especially not necessarily, and especially
impeachment.
He had a grand total of 2, and 1 would be justified. Grand total of 2, and the other investigation was proven to be true. The Mueller investigation. I know that everybody hates it because they hang on the word collusion, and no, it didn't rise to criminal collusion. But were they working together? Yes, Mueller proved it, as did the rest of the intelligence services in the Western U.S. Yes, that is a fact. We can't get around that, but it doesn't matter. So the idea of what was going on, and then with Barack Obama, you also don't allow him to pick a Supreme Court justice. So the idea that the Republicans weren't trying to muck up and screw up everything Obama was doing. I mean, we had times when we were headed up into the election, we had rumors coming from sitting members of Congress that Barack Obama was about to start martial law. Come on.
No, he didn't.
There were rumors.
I don't remember those at all.
Yes, there were, because there was a military exercise in Texas that went on within 6 months of the election, and the idea was that he was prepping for martial law, and that he also was always supposed to bring in Sharia law.
Not even close to what they did to Trump.
Right.
Give me 51 former intelligence agents lying to try to stop somebody from getting elected. 51.
You have drawn a conclusion that is not there in evidence.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. You have assumed that they made the choice to lie in order to prevent him from getting elected.
Yes,
that
exactly
is not true. No, that's not
exactly what they did.
That is not true. That is simply not true. They came to a conclusion based on information that was available at the time. Was the conclusion wrong? Yes, absolutely. But was it a fair conclusion based on the information at the time? Yes.
And were they trying right before an election?
Well, how did Rudy just happen to show up with a laptop right before the election? The guy that was working with the Russians, he was working with Russian intelligence. We have his buddy Lev Parnas saying, I was working with Rudy, getting information from Russian intelligence and feeding it to members of Congress. We've seen Russian intelligence linked directly to member of Congress right now, as far as information they are saying. This is not
Here's
unusual.
The question I want to ask our listeners here. Okay. Is the bully factor, these voters talking about, is that starting to come into, is it essentially backfiring on the Democrats? Are voters seeing what they're doing to Donald Trump as a form of bullying, using the government to try to go after a political opponent, And is it starting to backfire? I'd love to hear from you. Phone lines are open. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Question coming in from Doug. Morning, guys. Can I ask a really dumb question? The hush money trial, what law was violated? Is this being called election interference, bribery? Is it illegal to pay someone to be quiet? From Doug. So no, it's not illegal to pay someone to be quiet. What he's charged with, 34 counts of falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor. They can get away with it being a felony by saying it was done in an effort to break a larger law.
Yeah. And I disagree with it being a felony, but yeah, it's basically he claimed the money as a business expense when it wasn't, and it should have been claimed as an election or a personal expense. And the fact that his campaign nor his personal bank account didn't reflect that, and then the issue being that what the prosecution is trying to prove, and again, we'll see if we can get there, that Donald Trump made the directive to the bookkeeper saying to classify it this way. And the reason it's an issue is because Michael Cohen was under a retainer, but the retainer was, as a percentage, far larger than anything else he had been paid as a retainer. And the idea, and what they've shown so far at prosecution, and whether or not the jury believes them, is that the money contained in that retainer was a payback for the hush money that Michael Cohen had paid earlier, claiming that as a legal expense. It's not a business expense. When Donald Trump was paying off Stormy Daniels, the issue being there, it was an election issue, not a business issue. Whether or not Stormy Daniels was going to say that wasn't going to harm the Trump organization. It was going to harm Trump, the candidate. And that's the issue in which it comes in. Is it a minutia case? Yes. Is it kind of dumb? Yes. Should it be a misdemeanor? Yes. Not a felony? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Text message coming in. Good morning, fellas from Nebraska. Absolutely. The public sees this as bullying and throwing their way around trying to intimidate and jail a man to keep him from the White House. 5311 from Nebraska. Thanks for the text. Rumors versus saying they were going to impeach Trump even before he took office and then brought 2 impeachments the whole time while he was president. That's just a start. Rod from Littleton. So it's
I have a question about that with Rod. So when the Republicans come out at the beginning of the Biden administration and say they're going to impeach him, is that also corruption? Is that, if you're saying that based on those statements from the Democrats, is it also corruption? We've gone through hearings, bullying, but we've gone through that already. We've gone through an impeachment inquiry of President Biden, and that hasn't come to anything. And again, the impeachments, the second one with Ukraine, yeah, that's legit. The second one, the first one with Ukraine, legit. The second one over January 6th, that was dumb. That was dumb, and that was done. Again, that was just the Democrats being petulant.
It was a perfectly fine phone call to Ukraine.
Yeah, the perfectly fine phone call that he asked President Zelensky at the time to open up a fake investigation into his political opponent. That's weird, isn't it?
I think he was trying to root out what Biden's really doing.
No. It is in the phone call.
Money laundering. Yeah, I've read the transcripts.
It is. And he asks for an investigation that is not legitimate into his political.
I think it was a perfectly fine
his political rival. No, because he doesn't. And the reason why he doesn't ask about the Biden money and things coming from Ukraine is because there's nothing there. The idea of bribery in the Burisma timeline doesn't work. It does not work functionally based on the narrative that is being told. And that's not my opinion. That's how time works. Based on who was in the offices at what time and what they were doing. That's it.
I'm going to tell you about how corrupt government works. All right.
It's fine, but you got to prove it.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I want to talk to you about our friends at Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for years. Dan is right there with us on our values: pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. Great guy. And on top of values, this guy is a titan when it comes to defending you and getting what's right for you in that courtroom. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's also a former seminarian and has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Here's how I know Dan is a titan in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplan Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call. 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplanslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. The CDC reports that the number of fatal overdoses in the US fell last year. In New York, Haley Bianco has the details.
The CDC says about 107,500 people died of overdoses in the U.S. last year. That's down 3% from 2022. The last time a decline occurred was in 2018. CDC officials noted the data is provisional and could change after more analysis, but they still expect a drop when the final counts are in. They say the decline is relatively small, while also noting that the last time a decline occurred, in 2018, drug deaths rose again soon after.
For the first time ever, a taco stand has been awarded a Michelin star. The coveted award from the French Dining Guide was awarded to Arturo Rivera Martinez. Now, he is the owner of Tacos El Califa de Leon, which is a humble taco stand in Mexico City's bohemian San Rafael neighborhood. El Califa de Leon, with its 1 star, will join the Michelin Guide alongside some of the world's best eateries. Martinez says the secret to a good taco is keeping it simple and washing it down with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. I think that is advice we can all agree with. That is what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Fox reporting Ohio purges non-citizens from state voter rolls, calls on the Biden administration for data ahead of 2024. Ohio is calling on the Biden administration to grant access to federal citizenship information. Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose ordered the state's voters' rolls to be purged of non-citizens Tuesday after a review found more than 100 Ohio residents who were registered to vote despite lacking U.S. citizenship. An investigation by Ohio's Public Integrity Division analyzed data from the state's Bureau of Motor Vehicles and found 137 people who appeared on voter rolls despite twice confirming they were not U.S. citizens. Ohio law requires that in order for a person to be removed from voter rolls, they must have confirmed their lack of citizenship to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles on two separate occasions and have also updated their voter registration or voted in between two occasions. These individuals will receive at least 2 written notices from the Secretary of State's office asking them to confirm their citizenship status or cancel their registration. Failure to respond to these notices will result in removal of the registration from the voter rolls by the County Board of Elections, LaRose told Fox Digital in a statement. The improper voter registration could result in prosecution for some. But LaRose cautioned that not all instances are criminal. It's important to recognize that some of these registrations may be the result of an honest mistake. They may be well-meaning people trying to pursue the American dream, and communication barriers sometimes results in a registration form being submitted in error. We need to help them get that cleared up before an accidental registration becomes an illegal vote that could result in a felony conviction or even a deportation. LaRose's office says there may be more non-citizens registered to vote than the initial investigation uncovered. Much of the data provided by the Bureau of Motor Vehicles requires cross-referencing with other databases, some of them federal. To that effect, Ohio is calling on President Biden's administration to provide access to several sources of citizenship data. First is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services SAVE database, which holds troves of citizenship data for individuals entering the U.S. LaRose's office also seeks access to citizenship information from the Department of Homeland Security, the Social Security Administration, as well as the federal district court records disclosing individuals disqualified from jury service due to lack of U.S. citizenship. I guess what caught me on this was, one, it doesn't seem to be that big of an issue. They did an initial search and you ended up with 127 people out of the entire state of Ohio.
Yeah, which is like 13 million. Right?
Yeah,
just under.
right.
No, wait, I'm sorry, under 12. It's almost 12. It's 11.7 or 8, somewhere in there. So it's almost 12 million people. Yeah.
So not a ton. But then, what struck me was the amount of work you got to go through to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You got to get all this data from the Biden administration, cross-reference it with your voter information in the state.
Which we really should do.
You know,
yeah, we really should do.
Should be a little easier to figure out.
Absolutely, it should. And that's why we had systems like ERIC, which was allowed sharing of voter registration rolls across states. But since 2020, and you know the story about stealing of things and fake votes, a number of Republican legislatures have pulled back and are no longer participating in ERIC. And so they have taken, you talked about the idea of cross-referencing and all the databases. They've hampered themselves to find whether or not.
What was the reason for pulling back from ERIC?
Because of the voter fraud. Again,
do they not trust the system?
No. Have you been listening? No, we can't trust the system at all. I mean, just in the Republican media sphere, we can't trust the voting machines. We can't trust the voter rolls. Even Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, stood up a couple of weeks ago and talked about a BS piece of legislation about not having illegals vote. It's already illegal, jackass. But he had this big speech about what the Republicans were going to do about it, because there's this narrative that a whole bunch of illegals are crossing the border to vote. Because that's exactly what they're trying to do.
There's no evidence of them trying to register organizations. I thought there were signs.
No, not large
scale.
There's
signs down there of people encouraging them to register to vote.
No, not large scale. And again, it's illegal. So if you're encouraging them to register to vote, that's a crime. You're going to get them deported. So if you are down there encouraging them to register to vote, you're asking to get them deported. That's like come in here and steal this stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, it's illegal.
What do you think about not tying though the congressional representation to the census when you have the census counting illegals?
Yeah, I have there are two issues there. One, are we allocating resources based on Americans or based on people and who are there? Or are we doing it based on voters? Because if it's based on voters, then we don't count the kids. So I just want to know what our limit is. The issue for me is I can see the argument for counting everybody, even legal and illegal immigrants, those that are under asylum claims and those that aren't, in a population if we're talking about services and representation, because that seems to be important. And the other part being, and what I would say about that is, let's say that you have a large portion of people in a rural community that are under migrant farm visas, where they're only here for 6, 8, 9 months of the year. If we don't count them in that census for population, then you don't necessarily need some of that tax revenue. It means you don't need to have upgrades in water, in roads, in schools, all of which you could need based on the number of people that are there. So we just have to talk about what the idea is and why we're counting them that way. When we get into congressional representation and changing seats, I can be persuaded to only count American citizens. I can be persuaded that way, but I can be persuaded the other direction too, because are we talking about this person? Are they representing everybody inside the area? Or are they only representing voters? And that's different, because then
it's wild to me that we are at a point as a country where we're like, we have massive amounts of people that are not here legally and they deserve representation.
Well, the issue is that from, again, the numbers that I've seen, there are massive amounts of people that are here legally.
Millions of people. There's like 11 million.
But the majority of people I've seen have been here either on visas and overstayed them, or are under an asylum claims.
Not a majority. A majority.
No, but under the I would say, again, I would say that of the entire circle of entire pie, if we were dividing it up as far as the people that are not American citizens that are here, if we combined those that overstay visas and asylum claims, that's going to be larger than the pure illegal that snuck across the border.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's.
I think there's
I know
5,000 people coming across the day illegally. That's got to be a lot more.
But
here's a good
most
question.
of them show up at the port of entry and declare asylum. That's where the majority of the crossings happen.
I don't know if that's a majority, if that's just where we actually count them.
Well,
here's a good question though. If we're giving them IDs, how do you defer or differentiate between a person who has an ID legally and doesn't have an ID, and then if they're registering to vote?
Okay, here's a question I have. Do we have a difference in the IDs between people that are above and below the ages of 18 and 21?
Yeah, but
so we can create different IDs,
are
though,
IDs different in Colorado, though?
But we can no.
Driver's license?
The issue is this: we can create different IDs, right? Because that already exists. And what exists in Colorado is a different ID.
Weird that we're in a country where we're like, you're here illegally. Here's an ID.
But again, here's the idea,
we're
though.
going to make it look different.
Hang on, but your assumption is you're here illegally. If you're here and claiming asylum, you have a right to get an ID. And there is a box there. You get a different ID. It looks differently. And it even on the ID says you're not allowed to vote. On the front of the ID, it says you're not allowed to. And again, if you're here under an asylum claim.
It says that.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Yeah. You're not allowed
I'd like to see it. I'd like to look at that.
Yeah.
We're going to give us a call and let us know if you think this is a big issue. Do you think that there's a lot of illegal immigrants and non-citizens on the voter rolls? Is this something that we really need to take on? I appreciate the fact that they're clearing this. And I know that Tom Fitton's organization went after our Secretary of State because she hadn't cleared the voter rolls in a few years.
And that's an issue.
And was able to get to some form of agreement where she was going to clear those off. But is this a big issue you think that Secretaries of State need to be addressing? Do you anticipate that the Democrats are going to be using illegal immigrants to vote in this upcoming election? I don't trust the Democrats, but I'm not quite sure I see how they could get illegal immigrants to vote.
That's the question I've got is, do you think illegal immigrants are going to be voting in the next election? Is that how the Democrats are going to defeat Donald Trump? Not these court cases. Is it all the illegals they led across the border and they're going to be voting? Convince me of that.
There's a lot of illegal Canadians in this country, 3,300. Interesting. Folks, I want to talk to you about QC Kinetics. If you have constant back pain, and you know this as you're getting older, right? If you're too sedentary, you're not working out, you're not moving around, that compounds on itself, and you end up with some serious pain. QC Kinetics can help you, and it's non-surgery, guys. You're not alone in this. Back pain affects millions, impacting the quality of life, but there's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common. From muscle strains to herniated discs, symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with movement. Why risk surgery when there's a safer option? With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Give them a call, 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com. That's 303-900-8986. or painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation today. And be sure to tell them Jeff Hunt sent you. All right, when we come back, you're listening to You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Lots of text messages. For an illegal to vote in Colorado, the state would need to send them a ballot. The only way to get a ballot is to be registered to vote. In Ohio, only 130 out of 12 million were found to have registered. Not sure this is something to worry about. 4944. Thanks so much. And to Bill's point, there is a black line across their ID that says not valid for federal identification, voting, or public benefit purposes in English.
Yeah. I know, because you assume the person that is going to be getting it will be an English reader. Yeah, is what you're assuming. Yeah, because putting in Spanish.
How we even got to this point in our country where we're like, all right, massive amounts of people. Here's an ID, but you're not allowed to vote.
The issue being is if you're an asylum seeker, then the ID is necessary.
Stay in your country. All right, let's go to You Choose the News. Bill?
Alrighty, yes, it is that time of the morning where we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even dumber headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why? It's a lot of fun, and the people in charge have no idea we are doing it. We almost got in a little bit of trouble yesterday playing it so late, so that's why we are going at it early this morning. Of course, Blake Olson is joining us from the news department. Alrighty, gentlemen, here are your choices this morning. Headline number 1. Playing the field. Headline number 2, Munster on the loose. Headline number 3, there's a gap so wide we can all swim in. And headline number 4, Canadian math. Your choice, sir.
Canadian math, please.
Canadian math. This is a nice one, especially given our last topic. We are journeying up north to America's hat. Canada is planning to shrink the number of temporary residents in the country. They are concerned about the number of people that are in there on temporary visas or asylum claims. In 2018, there were 300,000. By 2022, over 600,000. So they are going to finally clamp down on the number of temporary residents inside of Canada with the most Canadian solution possible. They're going to make some of them permanent residents. They're going to lower the number by making some of them permanent. So again, we're lowering the temporary numbers by making the other ones permanent. Yeah, that's
and
Canadian
Biden's
math.
like, oh, that's a great idea.
He's like, we can do that? I had no idea. Get on that right away. All righty, sir, your second choice this morning, Munster on the loose. There's a gap so wide we can all swim in or playing the field.
Let's swim.
Yeah, there's a gap so wide we can all swim in. Maggie Steffens was looking for more support for the U.S. women's water polo team, and the captain received support from a very unusual man, a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Public Enemy MC and hype man Flavor Flav has stepped forward to be an official sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. Yes, he is going to bring the noise and be the hype man for the team, and he's going to talk to the team about how they're going to have to shut him down. Yes, Flavor Flav is the official hype man at 65 years old.
The big clock.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and shout out to everybody that was listening carefully that caught references to not one, not 2, but 3 Public Enemy songs in that story. Hopefully you were playing along with me and you got all the references.
That is your skill set.
I had 3 references in that story. Alrighty, sir. We go to Blake Olson, the news department. Yeah, boy. All right, playing the field or Munster on the loose?
Play the field.
Yes, got to play the field. Hey, Blake, imagine if you were a single guy going on 700 dates in a single week. That'd be playing the field, and that is the dream of Whitney Wolf Hurd. She is the founder of dating app Bumble. She's saying in the future, you're going to go on hundreds of dates an entire week, but oh, wait, hang on, hold on. Not you, actually. It will be your AI concierge. Yes, she said that we're going to create AI concierge avatars and go out there, and then they're going to have these first few dates virtually. And then eventually you'll get to, we have a connection. You go back, and you're going to find out who that person is, and then you're going to have to sit down and do all the small talk and stuff that you should have done in the first few days.
I love that idea.
I think it's stupid.
I was a big dater.
I think it's ridiculously
I love
stupid.
Dating all through college. Every weekend, I'd go, let's go grab coffee. Let's go grab coffee. And within 5 minutes, I could figure out whether or not this was going anywhere.
Yeah.
And the amount
so you were that guy.
And you'd have to like sit through the rest of the coffee date and all that stuff.
Blake, he was that guy.
Let's talk about me.
If I can have a computer do that for me, I love it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm right there with you.
Oh, I think it's awful because the idea is that we've seen how well those dating apps are working already. The idea that AI and then the whole idea of all the small talk and everything you have to do to get to know them, the AI is going to jump and you're going to go right to like date number 3. No, you're going to go back to date number 1 and you're going to have to do all the small talky that AI has already done. And plus, the really, really bad part about it is your AI concierge is getting way more action than you are. I mean, way more action.
You assume.
That's not cool.
They're all lying. Those
Yeah.
AI guys, they're all lying.
You are right. Oh,
You know,
Blake
they're
Olson.
telling stories.
Thank you so much. We'll check into the
Text
news in a
message
second.
here, 3,300. I thought Flavor Flav was dead.
No, he's 65 and he is still bringing the noise. Hey, and this is probably not sponsored by Rolling Out Shelves. They will organize your closets, your clutter, basement, bath with a free estimate. Give them a call. Find them at rollinoutshelves.com, but do not tell them about You Choose the News.
Heidi Gahnal's up next. Jeff and Bill Show. City on this Thursday, May 16th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and most of the time, crazy. It's another beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news, could you imagine a state led by Heidi Gahnal I can, and it wouldn't require us having to pay 50 cents more per gallon this upcoming summer. If you remember, Heidi Gahnal was the Republican nominee that ran against Jared Polis during the last gubernatorial election. Well, Jared Polis is putting us in a spot where we may end up with the EPA bringing in mandates that now require us to pay even more for our gas. Thank you, Governor Polis. So we'll hear from Heidi Gahnal in just a second, but let's check in on the news, the Blake Olson news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 49 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the mid-70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, 3 suspects have been arrested and charged in connection with the deadly carjacking that happened in September in Arapahoe County. 23-year-old Ahmed Zainadullin was shot to death, and the suspects are 18-year-old Radon Collins, 17-year-old Devontae Rogers Brodus, and a teenager who hasn't been named. They face numerous charges, including first-degree murder. Southridge Elementary School in Castle Rock was placed on secure status Wednesday after a man was seen with a gun in the area. Numerous 911 callers reported seeing him holding a rifle and wearing body armor, and police immediately responded to the scene. Officers located the gun and determined that he hadn't broken any laws. Nobody was hurt or arrested. 24-year-old Benjamin Winters has pleaded guilty to charges related to a DUI crash that injured 4 first responders in Commerce City. It happened in December on I-76 when Winters crashed through barricades and hit 2 police officers and 2 firefighters. The officers and firefighters had been responding to an earlier DUI crash when they were hit. 1 first responder is still recovering from his injuries, and Winters' sentencing is scheduled for August 9th. An investigation is ongoing following a deputy-involved shooting in Aurora. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says it happened at a home on South Himalaya Circle around 3:45 on Wednesday, and 1 person was transported to the hospital. No suspect information has been released, and authorities say there's no threat to the community.
Oh, absolutely. I really think he has to debate. He might as well get it over with. Probably should do it early so that he can, he's not going to get any better.
Former President Trump and President Biden set to face off in debates June 27th and September 10th. The campaign derailment waste of time continues today in New York. Trump on with Hugh Hewitt, and he says that Biden is not helping one of our most important allies, Israel, in their war against Hamas.
It is not believable to me that he made the statement. All that does is prolong a war because it gives the other side tremendous energy when that happens. It gives them a psychological energy. That was such a bad statement. And how a person that's Jewish can vote for this guy who's obviously mentally impaired, how a Jewish person can vote for him is beyond belief.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a law eliminating climate change from the state's energy policy. The law signed Wednesday says Florida government will no longer be required to consider climate change when creating policy. It will also prohibit the construction of offshore wind turbines and repeal grant programs that encourage renewable energy. And that dude is awesome.
Great move, McCarr. Let's it go. He scores. Kel McCarr floats one through Ottinger. And just like that, it's 4-2 Colorado.
The Avalanche avoid elimination, and they are alive in the Stanley Cup playoffs, of course. Kel McCarr, a pair of goals, 5-3 over the Stars. Game 6 in Denver tomorrow. Stars lead it 3-2. And how about this one?
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Got him with a breaking ball.
And the Rockies had their first shutout of the year.
Let's go, Rock Show.
They have their first sweep in San Diego since 2013.
Rockies have won 7 straight, 8-0 over the Padres. They start a series with the Giants tomorrow. Jordan Beck 3 for 4 with a home run and 5 RBI. Nuggets try to finish off the T-Wolves tonight in Minnesota. Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals. Denver has won 3 in a row, and they lead the series 3-2. 46 in Lone Tree, 44 in Broomfield, 49 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on this Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS 5-day forecast is going to bring a lot of sunshine back to the Denver Metro today and through much of the weekend. High pressure over the four corners will allow for highs in the mid-70s today and lows tonight in the lower 50s. Upper 70s and some low 80s on the plains for Friday. Might get a little breezy to end the work week, but we're keeping it dry. Lows Friday night in the lower 50s. For the weekend, upper 70s, low 80s, isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. She's one of my favorites. Heidi Gahnal joins us. I saw this article in Colorado Politics, 50 cents more per gallon EPA mandate for gas to hit Denver motorists this summer. Governor Jared Polis' reformulated gas mandate threatens Colorado's fuel supply and might result in shortages at the pump. Well, we're here in part because of these EPA mandates. John Hickenlooper had sought to delay these mandates being implemented. And guess what Jared Polis did when he got into office? He withdrew that request for an extension. Then he realized the problem that we're going to deal with. And so he desperately is trying to resubmit it. But we may end up paying as much as 51 cents to $1 more per gallon starting this summer because of these EPA mandates. So I texted our good friend Heidi Gahnal and asked Heidi, if you were governor of the state of Colorado, which she almost was and would have made a great governor, how would you have led differently on this situation? She's kind enough to join us on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning, Heidi.
Well, good morning, Jeff. It's great to be here.
So you see the problems that our state's going in, especially in light of, even these EPA mandates that we're going to have to deal with. What are your thoughts on Polis's leadership right now?
Well, everything we talked about on the campaign trail is coming to fruition, unfortunately, for Colorado. And there are easy fixes to a lot of these problems that Polis created. I'm starting to call him the Governor Gaslight. He gets on social media and acts like everything is wonderful. We're not third worst in crime in the country. I mean, we're actually going to be one of the top 10 safest states. And we are going to solve the climate change crisis right here in Colorado. It's going to cost you a little bit more in the pocketbook, but we're going to get it done here in Colorado so that I can run for president someday.
Do you really think he wants to run for president? I mean, or maybe Senate. He's going to be termed out after what? Another 2 years. I'm getting older, so all my time seems to fly by quicker, but he'll be termed out as governor. Do you think he goes for Senate? Do you think he really wants to run for president?
I do think he wants to run for president. He's teeing it up behind the scenes. He's still got great relationships with all the national media. He's on, the talk shows every once in a while to pipe in as the libertarian-ish governor, which he's anything but. It just mocks all of us to say that. I've never seen such an onslaught of regulation and control and power plays as I did in this last legislative session. And I bet you Polis is not going to veto much of that, which if I was governor, my pen would run out of ink on day one.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Contrast what Colorado would look like today versus where we are if you were the governor of the state.
Well, as I talked about on the campaign trail, I would take us to zero income tax over my 2 terms. I would lower property taxes. I would install school choice as much as I possibly could as governor. Hopefully, I would have a legislator to help me do that, legislature. I would also cancel our sanctuary state status and allow our law enforcement to do their job and be tough on drugs. tough on illegal immigration, and tough on the homelessness issue for the folks that deserve that, not, of course, the people who need help. A lot of good organizations and folks to help on that front, but we've got to toughen up and get back to law and order in this state. And finally, I would fix the darn roads. We had a big transportation proposal to do that. Affordable housing is a huge issue. We could reduce regulations, fees, timelines to get permits, let the free markets do their thing, and incentivize investment in housing development where it makes sense while addressing the water issues. Those are just a few of the things that would be different under a Governor Ganahl.
You can tell she's thought a lot about this, and it would be a very different state. I think part of my heart mourns the fact that Colorado could look like that. It would be the Colorado of the 90s, essentially, which was a great state. It was doing well, and people wanted to be a part of this state, and now it's heartbreaking to see what's happened. I wonder real quick, and we didn't talk about this, but I'll put you on the spot, and you're welcome to not talk about it if you don't want to. But Kristi Noem and the dog, you were the former owner of Camp Bow Wow. You love your dogs. I condemned what Kristi did. I didn't think it was right. We raise ranch dogs, and I understand you can have some tough moments with a dog, but a 14-month-old dog, based upon what she wrote in her book, I didn't think it was right for her to put it down. What were your thoughts about what Kristi Noem did and wrote about?
My thoughts are exactly what you think they would be, Jeff. I'm the biggest dog lover on the planet, and it just broke my heart to see that. And that put it in the book and was talking openly about it. I'm like, oh my goodness. America is filled with dog lovers, pet lovers, and we are passionate about those pets to the tune of, probably $100 billion pet industry now. And regardless of, the ethics or the decisions around that, politically speaking, I don't think it was a good move at all.
Yeah, and then to put it in her own book and to tout it as a moment of decisiveness and look at me, I can now make decisions, the hard decisions in politics. You just went, oh my gosh. Even my wife, who, is even to the right of me, she's about as conservative as you get. She said that just came across as cruel. It came across as the wrong decision, kind of in a heated moment. And then don't even get me started on the goats. I raise goats. She shot the goat for being a boy goat. He was not doing anything other than what most boy goats do. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to put him down just for being a boy goat, essentially. So let's talk about the overregulation of business in Colorado. This EPA mandate is another example of this. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, I'm talking with Heidi Gahnal, Colorado Politics, reporting 50 cents more per gallon EPA mandate for gas to hit Denver motorists this summer. Motorists in what's called Denver's Metro North Front Range Ozone Non-Attainment Area, that is a perfect government name right there, face the more expensive gas after the Environmental Protection Agency a few years ago downgraded the region to severe, which triggered a requirement to use what's called reformulated gasoline this summer. When the EPA was considering the downgrade, the agency said the reformulated gasoline would only add about 3 cents more per gallon. Experts in the field said it would be 10 to 20 or more times as much as the EPA suggested. In a press release, the Denver Gazette editorial board on Thursday, Polis criticized the EPA. Oh, they're awful, said Polis. Yes, we're fighting them on many fronts, but particularly now with several exclamation points, this insane requirement for this reformulated gas. But while Polis is condemning it now, a few years ago, he actually withdrew the request not to be a part of this, and now he's kind of scrambling to put it back in. Heidi Gahnal, you met with business leaders when you were on the campaign trail. You're an entrepreneur yourself. You're out there meeting with business leaders on a regular basis. When they talk about the overregulation, not only from the state, but the federal government, what are they facing?
Well, they're facing a decision on whether they want to keep doing business in Colorado. And employees are wondering if they can afford to move here, afford to work here. And it's really, really devastating to small business owners who, I'll take the restaurant industry right now. The Family Leave Act and some other legislative decisions by the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to hire more employees, to pay their employees more, to give them better benefits on their own without being mandated by the government, to grow their business, to get zoning approval, to open new locations. The list goes on and on. So it's death by 1,000 cuts. And what that does is it makes Colorado a place with less opportunity, a place where businesses don't want to come to move their employees, their work staff here. So I'm just heartbroken over this, because Colorado was the wild, wild west for entrepreneurs. It was one of the best places in the country to come, to start a business, to grow a business. And now we see us going down, down, down in the rankings for opportunity here.
Yeah, it used to be called, Denver used to be called the Wall Street of the West. And I talked with some oil and gas guys a long time ago. Every building downtown used to be oil and gas. Think about that. Every office building down there used to be oil and gas development in the Western United States. And with all the regulations, they've now essentially emptied. I think I saw a statistic, 184 businesses have now left the city of Denver, partially because of the crime, partially because of the regulations. Employees don't want to go down there. And when those office buildings aren't full, the restaurants aren't doing well. I talked to a restaurant owner the other day who said, we used to be able to make 10% revenue at the end of each fiscal year. That used to be our mark. Then post-COVID, we were down to 3 to 4% revenue year over year. Now, with the Family Leave Act that you were talking about, with minimum wage, with all the stuff, they're now into a net negative. And that's why, so you have a combination of businesses that are, office buildings that are empty, people not going downtown, they're not eating at these restaurants, over-regulation, new policies put on, they're losing money. It's, at the end of the day, it's just math. And so if they can't make the math work, they're not going to be in business. What do you think this is going to do for the average citizen that in these counties, and I'll pull up these counties where this is going to affect you this summer. It's essentially the Denver metro county, like Arapahoe, Douglas, Denver, Larimer, Adams, and Weld, that are going to face this now new requirement for gas. What do you think is going to happen to the average person in those counties?
Well, Jeff, it's a very intentional effort to get people to stop driving their cars. And this is all part of the climate change narrative. Now, we all want a healthier environment, but in Denver, most of our ozone, 60% of it is naturally occurring. It blows in from other states and countries. It's caused by wildfires. Colorado can do different things to control our pollution, but 60% of it is naturally occurring. And so that's why previous governors had asked for this waiver. They understood that. The EPA of old actually understood that and would grant the waiver. And now they're asking us to do something that's almost impossible. But this is all intentional. This is to get us to stop driving our cars and to move into these 15-minute cities, or these pockets where rapid transit is there. And they think that everyone's going to get on the light rail, get on the buses, and stop using their cars and live in these small apartments in very dense areas. That's why the zoning laws are being changed. And a lot of the bills you saw come through are pushing local governments to give on additional units and housing density, et cetera. So all of this is coordinated. And it's really going to change Colorado, the Colorado we know, how we live, how we eat, how we spend money. And it's getting unaffordable as well. So a lot of folks are just moving out.
And so if you're not in those counties, if you're not in Arapahoe, Douglas, Denver, Larimer, Weld, all those counties I just said, your gas prices will remain the same. But if you are in those counties, they're going to go up by 51 cents to $1. So an enterprising business person may want to open a gas station in Elbert County or El Paso County or any of those other counties where this is not going to impact. I mean, you're going to have, very, very different gas prices. What I also think it'll do is just kill those convenience stores. Already, if you don't understand the model, convenience stores don't make money off of gas purchases. They make money off of food purchases inside the convenience store. But you're not going to go to those. You're going to go to a different gas station in Elbert County and those outside of this Denver County if you end up this getting implemented. So now they haven't fully said, the EPA hasn't fully said that they're going to do this. They're Polis sent a letter requesting an extension, and they haven't ruled on it. So at least they haven't said no. But I think this is going to be Bill. I think this could be a bad deal for drivers in Colorado.
Yeah, it will be based on the counties, but I'm not certain that we're going to get a large number of people that are traveling outside the county, because I think that's going to be proximity. If you are near the county border, then it makes sense to go all the way to Elbert. Where I am, it doesn't make any sense for me to drive to Elbert to get 50 cents less on gallons, because I'm going to burn that gas coming back. It's going to be a push.
That's one of the critiques, is that some people are now going to drive to these far counties spending and more gas
and again,
to try to get out there.
Again, if they're doing that and they can't do the basic math, okay, that's on you. I mean, I can't help that. I'm not certain about the convenience stores, because the driving, we could see some impact based on number of trips or people making trips like we saw last time the gas prices went up, combining trips. The idea that, okay, maybe I don't go out and go to Walgreens early in the day and then go and do my shopping, maybe picking up shopping stuff for dinner later on. I would combine those two trips. I would make sure that I only make one trip. So I think that's what we're kind of looking at. But the question I've got is more the idea of what solutions could we or should we be addressing? If we're talking about 60% of it being tangential, being stuff that's going to blow in here anyway, I think that we all want to be concerned and should be concerned about the air quality in Denver. What are the real practical solutions? If this one isn't working, then what is it?
Yeah, Heidi Gahnal, thoughts on that?
Well, first let me say, this is so ridiculous, because now we have one refinery in Commerce City that provides about 40% of Colorado's gasoline. It's called Suncor, and they can only make so much reformulated gasoline. So we're going to have to truck in reformulated gasoline from other refineries outside the state. Well, what does that do? It causes more pollution, because these tanker trucks are driving and creating pollution and bringing in this reformulated gas that we're going to use to reduce the pollution. Is that crazy?
Yeah. What would you do, though, if you were governor, to address the climate issues, the smog, the air quality in the state of Colorado?
Well, I think you've got to let the free markets do their thing. We have amazing entrepreneurs here that are all about innovation and creating solutions to these problems. Let the free market do their thing. Reduce regulation, give incentives for these great folks to figure out how to solve this problem and to help our air be cleaner. Incentivize people to do the right things in a positive way, in a free market way, in a way that reduces expenses for them and their families, not increases expenses. It's a punitive system they're using right now. And in the free market world, we use incentives, not punishment, to get people to do the right thing.
Now, could we? I mean, if I want to make the Democrat argue, I understand, and I agree with you that the move is punitive based on the gas. But given things like subsidies for green energy, tax breaks for buying a EV vehicle, would those, because those are government solutions as well, would those be considered market solutions? And the idea being, you talked about the big tanker trucks, and you're right, with the refinery capacity moving it in. But the Democrat argument on that would be, oh, well, we just need to make sure that tanker truck is a Tesla EV. Now the smog's gone. So are those the market solutions we're talking about, or is there something else?
Well, I think when it comes to EVs, the incentive is that you install in your home a charging station. It might cost you a few $1,000s, but then you don't pay for gas over the long term. And people have to crunch the numbers and figure out if that's the right thing to do for them, or if they want to live in a denser area where it's easier to get back and forth to work. That used to be a solution, but now it's getting more and more expensive to live in those areas. So I think their subsidies and their approach to affordable housing has kind of canceled that out. So, Bill, Jeff, this is a really complicated issue, but we have a lot of smart people, great entrepreneurs. Look at Elon Musk, who is, committed to transforming this world in lots of ways, but coming up with solutions to make it easier to drive cars, to drive down the cost of EVs, to make it more palatable for folks that typically couldn't afford a Tesla. So I think let's let the market do its thing. Let's incentivize good people to make good decisions and create products and services that solve a lot of these problems. That's the way we're going to get this done.
Yes, and I agree with you, and a lot of that. The issue I have as far as some of the market competition and what to do, and you talked about Elon Musk making EVs more affordable. The one that becomes real sticky and complicated in the conversation is BYD out of China. They are producing lower cost EVs than almost any other major manufacturer. There are some other ones in China, but not necessarily the size. And Berkshire Hathaway, major investor into BYD. They're not allowed into the American market yet, but they just recently debuted their Mini Seagull. It's a car that would cost right around $11,900 if it was in the market in America. That's a market solution, but both President Biden and Donald Trump say they're going to put a 100% tariff on that vehicle if it's ever allowed based on our safety standards in America. Is that necessarily the market solution, or should we allow BYD in China access to the market to drive down those EV prices?
Well, I think that goes to a problem we have here in America with taxation and regulation. It costs far more to produce products and services because of the government getting in the way. Now, there's a whole nother issue with China and bringing in products from China around our security and safety here in this country. So that's a longer conversation. But I believe that if the government would get out of the way, reduce regulations and taxes, then it would free up the market to come up with solutions that would compete with those prices in China. But right now, starting a business, building a product or service, and getting it to market is incredibly burdened by regulation and taxation. And I mean, it's just insane. That's part of why I got into politics, was when I was growing Camp Bow Wow and we were franchising, the government got in the way every way it could, whether it was the FTC on franchise regulation of the overall business model, or it was the local zoning department deciding that, dogs weren't friendly landlord guests in the local community and didn't want us to open a site in a place next to a car auto body shop where it's pretty noisy. It was just one thing after another. And what it did is it moved my time and talent and treasures to fighting the government and battling to open new businesses and hire more employees, instead of just letting me do my thing, create great jobs, provide a great service for people, and be able to, offer the American dream to many more franchisees.
Heidi Gahnal talking on the Jeff and Bill show. Heidi, you're exactly right. When that regulation comes in, when that government steps in and business owners have to spend so much of their time, energy, treasure, talent, working on addressing that instead of growing businesses, you get where we are in Colorado right now, where we're going to have a government step in, going to drive up gas prices 51 cents to $1 in some Colorado counties. They're going to have to truck in gasoline to deal with this. It's going to create a lot of problems and all these unintended consequences as well. I got one final question for you. Do you want to make some news today? Are you going to run for governor again, Heidi Gahnal?
Well, I am working on solving a couple big problems we have in Colorado in order to win elections again, and that is giving you all a voice. Jeff and Bill, you're doing a great job. We've got to get your voice out to more Coloradans. So that's Rocky Mountain Voice. We're building a platform to get good, truthful, honest news out to the voters of Colorado. And then the Road to Red Project, which is helping grassroots groups, conservative and libertarian leaning grassroots groups around the state, get strong and be more effective. That's my passion right now. I'm having a great time meeting people all over Colorado and getting them excited and hopeful again. And we will turn things around. I'm very confident of that.
So it's not off the table.
We have a lot to do before anyone can win statewide again in Colorado that has an R next to their name.
Well, Heidi Gahnal would have made a fantastic governor, and I know you've got a busy day. Thank you so very much for taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill show.
This was great.
Thanks, guys. Great job. Keep the good news coming out, and we will help from our end on Rocky Mountain Voice.
So Rocky Mountain Voice, one of her programs where they send out weekly emails kind of summarizing all the news that's happening in the state from a kind of more balanced conservative perspective, as opposed to what you may get on other news stations. But Rocky Mountain Voice, a great program that she's done. And then she's got her website, HeidiGahnal.com, HeidiGahnal.com. And you heard it. It's not off the table. She's thinking about it. But that was it was a brutal race against Jared Polis in many ways. I mean, one that with the direction the state's going and with the amount of money that guy has.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It would have been nearly impossible to beat him. But, who's going to be in the wings? Mayor Mike Johnston? with all the great work he's in the city of Denver. I have noticed that there are Democrats that just kind of fail their way up. Gavin Newsom, mayor of San Diego, governor of California, now wants to be the president.
There are a lot. I mean, just in life, there are a lot of people that you encounter that you're like, you failed upwards. You're like, how does this happen? You just have so many questions. There's a person that is in my life tangentially that I'm like, they just got a promotion? Like, really? I mean, I know their work quality and I know their work ethic. And I'm like, all righty. The best part about it, though, is it's the phrase that I always say to my kids. Remember, when they move out of your sphere of influence, not my circus, not my monkeys.
Yes.
Much, much better.
That's exactly
much
right.
better. And Heidi had some great points based on regulation. And I vehemently disagree many times with the Democrats based on the amount of regulations that they put in order to try to constrain the market, because the market left untethered, not always a good thing.
Right.
But with guardrails, it is the most efficient solution to most of our problems because of the competitive nature of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I appreciate Heidi Gahnal. And when I see those headlines about Polis, and he's trying to take this kind of angle that, oh, this is terrible. Like if you read this beginning part of this article in Colorado Politics, 50 cents more per gallon. Oh, the EPA, terrible.
They're making me do this.
And then you get down about midway through the article and you're like, oh, Hickenlooper saw the problem and asked for a delay.
Yeah.
And then when he came into office, he's like, nah, we need to address our air quality. I'm withdrawing our request.
Yeah.
And then businesses are like, bro, do you realize what you're doing? And then as it comes into, sight as to what we're going to deal with here, he's like, here's my request for a delay.
Yeah, it's a Mel Brooks, governor character from Blazing Saddles, where he's sitting around, he's like, "Humph, humph! I didn't hear a humph from that man." The idea of this fake outrage over something that not really matters. That's exactly what it is. It's fake outrage. He knew what he was doing, and he allowed this to happen. But now it's performative fake outrage, and I appreciate both yourself and Heidi pointing that out.
So, what do you think is going to be the effects of this? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. If you live in Denver County, you live in Larimer, you live in Arapahoe, you live in Adams, you live in Weld, you live in Douglas County, Boulder, Jefferson County, your gas is likely to be what's called this reformed gas, where you're going to have to pay anywhere from 51 cents to $1 more per gallon.
Yeah. And the octane based on additives is different. And if you have an engine that requires higher octane, it can mess with it a little bit, because it's not, the higher octane allows more oomph when the compression happens inside the cylinder. That's why you have different gradients. That's why you're seeing 85, 87, 91. The 91, much cleaner, also more oomph. And what you're looking at is you're going to change those levels. And so you have some engines out there that are designed to perform at that higher level. And you can end up causing misfires and problems with those engines, especially if you have an engine that has something like a turbocharger or supercharger on it, because of how that works and how it blows the fumes back into the chamber in order to create more compression. When the cylinders come down next time, it can create some severe misfires based on the chemical composition of the gas, because you're not getting the same stuff inside that the engine is expecting. It can create some problems. So this is not a good thing at all. And I want to know, if you're going to be doing this, what does it impact your budget?
Yep.
How does this change your budget? What happens to your family dinner table? What happens to your entertainment budget? What happens to your education budget if you're trying to save for the kids? And what does it do when you're trying to get to work? How far do you have to drive to work? And how much money is it going to cost you to make the same paycheck you're making today?
Great questions. And Bill, there are people who will go out of their way. Those kind of like promotional gas stations that are we're going back to 1990 for one day. And the line is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And people maybe saved a few dollars, but they're willing to go out of their way to be a part of it.
I've done some of those.
Yeah.
I've been a part of those station promotions. And maybe if we see what happens to prices, maybe we bring one of those back, because I've done it where I have stood for 6 hours at a gas station, personally pumping and squeegeeing windshield wipers so that people can get a 50% discount on the gas on that day. And if we can bring it back, I'd be more than happy to do it again.
So I think people, while you may not go, I know where we'll go. We'll go east, because right now we go west because most of our activities are back into Douglas County and Parker and Highlands Ranch. And we fill up with a gas station there. And I go to the gas station where I get the 10% discount.
So do I.
And do the little app thing every single time, Dino Pay.
Yep.
And if the gas is, I mean, this is $1 a gallon. So you're paying, you're looking at $30 on some of those big tanks per fill up.
Oh,
I'm going back into Elbert County.
Yeah.
Man.
I just thought of something. There could be one oasis inside of the city and county of Denver in which there's going to be Arapahoe Road and University. Right in that area, there are a couple of gas stations that are so close to each other, they have a gas war routinely. You can usually find among the lowest prices in the city at University and Arapahoe there because of the number of gas stations that are concentrated there. I would be willing to bet that as this price increase goes up, you will find them not hitting that 50 cent or $1 simply because of the competition. So if you're looking for something internally, that's my bet. I'm not certain, but usually you can find it much cheaper. I mean, like from where I am, it can be 25 to 35 cents cheaper where I normally get it. So it is a significant cut. So this
give
could
us
be good.
a call. How is this going to affect you paying 51 cents to $1 more, Denver, Jefferson, Douglas, Boulder County, as a result of this EPA mandate that may be coming in? 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710KNUS app. And when you do, be sure to leave your name and where you're from, or your first name and where you're from, so we know where you're texting from. Good question here. Joan from Lakewood. How will this affect diesel gas? I don't think it does. I don't think it affects it. I think it's just this reformed traditional kind of gas that's going to have to come in. All right, we'll get your calls and texts next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
from other states and other refineries. Now, in the past, John Hickenlooper, governor, said, hey, EPA, this is a stupid rating. We can't deal with this. It's more than half of this is not our fault anyways. So forcing this upon the people of Denver, Douglas, Jefferson, Boulder, Larimer, Weld counties is not right. And so they never really implemented it and kind of just got perpetually delayed. Well, Governor Polis, when he became the governor, said it's time for us to deal with the smog and withdrew the delayed request from the EPA. Well, after business people and its policymakers are like, bro, we're going to have to pay 51 cents more per gallon and $1 more a gallon, and this is going to start to impact us and kill our economy. He's scrambling to get the letter submitted back in to the EPA.
Yeah. Also, I got to correct something. Arapahoe University person's correcting me. I think it's Arapahoe Dry Creek is where that gas issue as far as going on, because the number, I haven't been in that area for a while, and I think I'm getting the cross streets wrong. So just trying to correct myself. I believe Arapahoe Dry Creek is where we're going to find the gas prices a little bit lower. But yeah, again, just wanted to correct that. Sorry.
Correct the record.
Yeah.
All right. So how is this going to affect you? I mean, knowing the budget you already have, paying 51 cents more per gallon, $1 more per gallon. If you have a big car like a Suburban that's a 30-gallon tank and you're paying $30 more to fill up, how's that going to affect you? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. I want to get to Benny here in just a second. I want to talk to you about the good people over at Roll 'Em Out Shelves. Let me paint you a picture of my recent experience with Joyce and Brent Tolliver from Roll 'Em Out Shelves. It was like having family walk through my door. Seriously, these folks aren't just professional. They're meticulous, caring, and very personable. They share our values. They're pro-family. They're pro-God. They're pro-America. We had a great time talking about our faith, our family, and this country, and then we got to work. It felt like having my mom and brother right there beside me. They were that kind and considerate. But then when we got to work, their attention to detail is unparalleled. They measured every nook and cranny, asked all the right questions, and ensured every shelf and drawer was tailor-made to fit my needs perfectly. And we have a small kitchen. We don't have a big house. We live in a kind of small ranch house. And so with 6 people, we're constantly on top of each other. And with all the food that comes with 6 people, it's all kind of just stacked and shoved into different drawers. So my wife, who I married, Monica Geller from Friends, the character, if you even knew anything about her, she was like super detail oriented, clean, everything's super clean. That's my wife. And so when we had Roll 'Em Out Shelves come and we're going to have all these new drawers and everything's going to be organized, she was in heaven. And they're coming out next week to install them. So excited about that. For less than $1,000, you can embark on your very own home makeover journey with Roll 'Em Out Shelves. And let me assure you, these shelves are built to last, crafted from sturdy Baltic birch, built right here in Colorado, and backed by a lifetime guarantee that you can trust that your space will stay organized for years to come. So what are you waiting for? Give Joyce and Brent, the dynamic duo behind Roll 'Em Out Shelves, a call today. 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601, or visit their website, rollemoutshelves.com, for your free in-home estimate, rollemoutshelves.com. All right, let's go to Benny, line 2. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Benny.
Oh, good morning. I was just wanted to fuel delivery is what I do. And I can tell you that Suncor is not going to make a special kind of gas for the 5-county metro area.
Yeah.
But they make gas for us the whole state. And we've got about 4 pipeline companies that serve Denver. So some of these guys are in Oklahoma, some of them in Texas. And these refineries make half a dozen different kinds of no lead to suit the market they're shipping to, because everybody seems to have their own rules about what they want. So what you get is expensive gas at Suncor, and then they're going to ship our special Colorado gas up these pipelines to us, and not Denver's going to pay 50 cents more a gallon. The whole state's going to pay 50 cents more a gallon.
Really? So you think they'll push this this new type of gas, reformulated gasoline, into all of the possible counties? Because why, if you're going to do it in the most populous, you might as well just do it everywhere.
No, I'm just saying that the people that make the gasoline aren't going to make a different kind of gas for every county. They're going to go to the they're going to make the reformulated gas, and everybody's just going to get it because they're not going to make special gas for outlying areas,
Wow.
special gas for inlying areas. And right now, to serve the Denver market, I'm guessing conservatively 300 to 400 truckloads of fuel a day, and that's not going to. There's not enough trucks to. You're not going to bring it from anywhere else. It'll come on a pipeline, and I know of one place in Borger, Texas. It serves Amarillo, Kansas City here, and Salt Lake, and every one of them wants a different kind of gasoline the way everything is now. So they make a batch for Denver and they send it, and they make a batch for Albuquerque and send it, and they make a batch for St. Louis and they send it, and that's just the way all this works. So
Wow.
what we get is we're just going to get the reformulated gas, and the whole state's going to get it, and the whole state's going to pay for it.
Jeez. Now, Benny, in your opinion and just your experience, would it help Colorado gas prices and Colorado drivers if we had another refinery elsewhere in the state, say Pueblo or even down south in Grand Junction or even closer to the Western Slope at all? Would that help at all, in your opinion?
You know, as bad as they pick on Suncor, if I was going to build a refinery, it wouldn't be here.
Really? Why?
No, I wouldn't put it here. Look at the regulations. The state of Colorado is so onerous with gasoline, from the refiners to even the pipeline people that get stuff from out of state and bring it here. Those guys are down everybody's throat. The individual mom and pop gas stations are catching heck from the state. They're running around finding them for this and finding them for that. They just don't like oil and gas here, and it really doesn't matter whether you're a refiner or a marketer. Colorado hates you all the way down the line. So I wouldn't bring anything here. You could do it someplace else and probably make money, but it would cost you so much to just come into compliance, and every morning they get up and make another pile of rules.
Oh,
Benny,
man.
you're exactly right. And man, I love hearing this real
That's
life,
fantastic.
right? People actually affected,
Yeah.
having to deal with this, seeing it on the ground, not, stupid press releases coming from government leaders.
Yeah.
Benny,
Really appreciate that.
thank you so much. Please call in again. Great call, Benny from Denver. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Test. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We'll continue this conversation. Your gas prices in Colorado may be going up 50 cents or more a gallon. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Eight a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It is Thursday, May 16th, and you have tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. And often that idea of who's crazy depends on where you're standing. It's another beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Grab that cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We've had a fantastic morning. Heidi Gahnal joining us in the last hour made a little bit of news. When asked whether or not she's planning to run for governor again, she did not take it off the table.
No, she
something
didn't.
She's considering. So
That's good.
I thought, and we talked to her in light of this story from Colorado politics that Denver, Douglas, Jefferson, Boulder, Larimer, Weld counties may see 50 cents or more per gallon increase, up to $1 as a result of a new EPA mandate that may hit us this summer.
Yeah, it's that blended gas. And they're going to, and as it costs more to refine, it's going to cost more to get here. And the end result is you, me, Jeff, paying more at the gas pump. Possibly 50 cents, could be as high as $1, depending on where that gas comes from and difficulty getting it here.
And we had a great caller, Benny, who delivers gas, says the way that this will impact the industry, they're just going to force this upon the entire state. They're not going to come up, the refineries are not going to come up with a special Denver, Jefferson, Boulder, Douglas County blend, and then Elbert County gets its own. And, Lincoln County gets its own, and El Paso County gets its own. Nope. We could, from his perspective, possibly all be paying more this summer.
It is just like the olive oil at the grocery stores. Unless you're going for those super, super high-end brands, everything is the same. There's no difference in the average brand between the extra virgin olive oil and the regular stuff in the bottles. It is the exact same process. It is the exact same product. They're only changing the label. Don't be fooled by it. Same thing here. Same thing here.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Blake Olson's news.
Hey, I heard Boulder uses oat milk in their car. In their car. Is that right?
Goat milk, oat milk, almond
goat
milk. How do you get milk out of an almond? Who knows?
Milk,
Well, I've also heard soon they're implementing the Flintstone solution, that the cars are going to have their engines removed and we all have to kick our feet underneath the car. That's their next solution.
I've seen a few people up there that look like they're doing that already.
Exactly.
No doubt. 52 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the mid 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the CEO of Jimmy Carter's nonprofit says the former president is doing fine. Paige Alexander was asked about his condition after Carter's grandson said the oldest living president was coming to an end. Alexander said, however, that there's been no major change in Carter's condition and that the 99-year-old is well and eating peanut butter ice cream. Of course, it had to be peanut butter ice cream. It couldn't be just ice cream, right? Nice.
Oh, absolutely. I really think he has to debate. He might as well get it over with. Probably should do it early so that he can, he's not going to get any better.
All right, that's former President Trump. And speaking of old presidents, President Biden and Trump set to face off in debates, of course, in June and September, if Biden is able. The campaign derailment trial continues in New York today. Trump was on with Hugh Hewitt and says Biden is owned by almost everyone on the globe.
Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate in the truest sense of the word. He is being paid off by China, and he's being paid off by Russia, and he's being paid off and was paid off by Ukraine. You take a look at that. Just look at it. I mean, the money is coming from every different angle. So he's worried that if he is tough, like I was with China, I took in $500 billion in tariffs. Not one president, and it was going up, not one president has ever taken in anything from China.
And former candidate for governor Heidi Gahnal on the show this morning, and she calls Governor Polis Governor Gaslight and believes that he still wants to be president one day.
I do think he wants to run for president. He's teeing it up behind the scenes. He's still got great relationships with all the national media. He's on, the talk shows every once in a while to pipe in as the libertarian-ish governor, which is anything but. It just mocks all of us to say that. I've never seen such an onslaught of regulation and control and power plays as I did in this last legislative session.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis isn't messing around again. He signed a law eliminating climate change from the state's energy policy. The law says Florida government will no longer be required to consider climate change when creating policy. It'll also prohibit the construction of offshore wind turbines and repeal grant programs that encourage renewable energy. North Glen police have arrested 2 suspects, and a third is on the run following a robbery on Wednesday night. The suspects fled the scene and eventually crashed their car. One person was injured and taken to the hospital. No description on the third suspect. 3 suspects have been arrested and charged in connection with the deadly carjacking that happened in September in Arapahoe County. 23-year-old Ahmed Zainuldin was shot to death, and the suspects are Radon Collins and Devontae Rogers Brodus. A teenage suspect is also in there with them, and they have not named him, of course, because he's a teenager. They face first-degree murder. Southridge Elementary School in Castle Rock placed on secure status Wednesday morning after a man was seen with a gun in the area. Numerous 911 callers reported seeing him holding a rifle and wearing body armor, and police immediately responded to the scene. Officers located the man and determined that he hadn't broken any laws. Nobody was hurt or arrested.
Great move, McCarr. Lets it go. He scores. Kill McCarr. Floats one through Ottinger. And just like that, it's 4-2 Colorado.
Wow, the Avalanche avoid elimination in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. Cale Makar, a pair of goals, 5-3 over the Stars. Game 6 in Denver tomorrow. Stars lead it 3-2. The Rockies have won 7 straight, 8-0 over the Padres. Yeah, I'll repeat that. The Rockies have won 7 straight. They start a series with the Giants tomorrow. Jordan Beck, 3 of 4, a home run and 5 RBI. Nuggets try to finish off the T-Wolves tonight in Minnesota. Game 6, Western Conference semifinals. Denver has won 3 in a row, and they lead the series 3-2. 48 in Castle Rock, 49 in Arvada, 52 in Denver. Jeff and Bill are going to tell you where to get the cheapest gas coming up this summer. They continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS 5-day forecast is going to bring a lot of sunshine back to the Denver Metro today and through much of the weekend. High pressure over the Four Corners will allow for highs in the mid-70s today and lows tonight in the lower 50s. Upper 70s and some low 80s on the plains for Friday. Might get a little breezy to end the work week, but we're keeping it dry. Lows Friday night in the lower 50s. For the weekend, upper 70s, low 80s, isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking this 50 cents more per gallon EPA mandate for gas to hit Denver motorists this summer. Jared Polis is desperately scrambling to get the EPA to delay this type of regulation after he withdrew the delay request when he first got into office. This was something that Denver has been looking at, the Front Range area has been looking at for years. John Hickenlooper had to face this as well. Basically, if the EPA determines that we are in severe violation of air quality, then we're forced to embrace this reformulated gasoline in all of our gas tanks. Well, 60% of the pollution and smog that comes into Denver doesn't even come from Colorado. It's just the way our city is, with wildfires that blow down from California, pollution, or from Canada, California pollution coming in. Weather just puts pollution from those areas into Denver. So it's not even something we can really address. So John Hickenlooper, when he was governor, was able to delay this type of thing from hitting our state. Well, when Jared Polis became governor, he's like, it's time for us to move on, and withdrew the request for delaying of this type of reformulated gas. And now as it begins to hit our state, he's panicking and desperately trying to get the EPA to delay it, because our state, just in case you're wondering, kind of dealing with some economic issues these days. It's not like everybody's rolling around with cash and can pay $1 more per gallon all of a sudden with all the other financial challenges we're facing. So taking a ton of calls on this. We're going to continue this hour on this issue, and we'll get into Congressional District 3 endorsement from the Colorado Republican Party in just a bit. Before we get to Melissa, I want to talk to you all about the Colorado Farm Bureau. If you just pulled out your skis and snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun, but snow means even more to Colorado ag. And I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. You want to go into a good job security? Be a water lawyer in the state of Colorado. Water is gold to the state, and everybody wants it because we're the roof for the entire Western United States. Our water starts here and flows down to all these other states. So preserving it, protecting it, and making sure we have good policy about it means the world. And the people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com. Let's go to Melissa Lakewood. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Yeah, good morning. I've got two examples, personal examples of how it's going to cost everybody money, whether you ride a bike, which is dangerous with all the potholes. But so I have one friend who is an appliance repair person, their own business. They're the only employee. They drive all over town, including deep into the mountains. So everybody's appliance repairs are going to be, or those that are the personal businesses, at least, not the big, giant nationwide ones. But then also, I have a friend who drives for a cat food and dog food company, and it drives locally, and it's the kind that you can only get at the vet for the prescription kind when your animal is sick. So you're already paying high vet bills, and then now that food that you're have to buy is going to go up.
Melissa, you are smarter than most lawmakers. As Dennis Prager always says, if Democrats thought through consequences, they'd be Republicans. Yeah. This is a perfect example of how everything's going to get more expensive. If we think this is just gas related, you're going to have to pay increased prices on a lot of things, services like you mentioned, delivery, all that.
I just thought of, and it was based on what Melissa was talking about, and this didn't even jump into my head in the earlier conversation. What happens to the Uber and Lyft drivers?
Yeah, right.
What happens to them? Because already we've talked about how compensation is going down from those ride sharing, and now you're going to make it more expensive for them to drive their vehicles.
Exactly.
And if they have an internal combustion engine, and I know some of them require, if you have certain trips, they mandate that you drive an EV. I know that Lyft and Uber have certain routes that they say you have to have an EV in order to get certain routes. And this is going to be another squeeze on those individuals that already probably can't afford the upgrade into the EV vehicle. They're doing the best that they can, driving 50, 60 hours a week sometimes. And now the money that they are bringing home is going to be less. This is going to end up impacting them in a way that's really not fair.
Here's a good text message, 0275. I thought the one-use political or plastic bag ban was supposed to be the cure-all to our environmental problems. Now you're going to have to drive it. I already hate this, right? Yeah. I'm going to get on my soapbox about this.
Oh, please.
Everything I buy is covered in plastic. Everything.
Yeah.
Every item you get in the grocery store is covered in plastic. Yep. Yet I have to put them individually into my shopping cart, pull them out individually. And then when you forget your little bags, they roll around in the back of your car as you drive home. It is so annoying to me. I ain't living in a liberal state. Oh my God.
Yeah, the plastic bag was silly. Melissa, how have you dealt with that plastic bag ban? What have you been doing?
Well, they actually, I don't want to say I don't want to tell on the store, but they're still giving away bags. But I just think it's ridiculous because everybody knows that that's smart knows that the brown paper bag, if it doesn't go in a landfill, or if it goes in a landfill, takes up more space than the plastic bag does.
Yeah, and then also we have to cut down the trees and do other stuff in order to get to that too. And so it's just, it's a never-ending cycle. And I understand the idea of us using the canvas bags, and I've gotten used to it. But again, you also have to wash those somewhat regularly, and they also wear out, and they also break. And I know of the breakage because there was a particular bag that we have that I put our soda bottles in, and that let go right in the middle of the parking lot. So there I am chasing sodas rolling around the parking lot. That was great.
Right. Well, and they took away the plastic, but now they brought back the paper bags.
Yeah.
At King Soopers, I see they have the paper bags again. I don't understand.
Yeah, and we were supposed to use the plastic because it was better than using the paper. So now I don't understand.
Right.
It's like eggs. It's like doctors and eggs. We can't eat eggs. We should eat eggs. Everybody should be eating eggs. And we're all going to die because we're eating eggs.
I love we're at a point of protest is against the government is handing out thin little plastic bags to your customers to help them.
Yes. Fight the power.
Tea party, fight the power. That's right. Melissa from Lakewood, thanks so much for the call. Let's go to Jay. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, good morning. Great show. First of all, we have 3 different types of gas in Colorado. We've got your ethanol, gas, diesel, and then I sit on the oil call council, so we have vintage cars and motorcycles, and we helped Governor Ritter helped us bring in what's called ethanol free. So if you just type in Google for pure gas, there's 175 stations where you can buy pure gas, which is ethanol free, which is the ethanol that our parents ran, back in the day. So our cars won't run on them, 400, 500 horsepower, Camaros, motorcycles, and I've got vintage Indians that actually Peter Boyles has been on and all that stuff. Excellent issue with this gas is all it is a bunch of carcinogens and a bunch of additives that really don't do anything. And if you don't believe it, go to one of those pure gas stations and fill up your daily driver and drive to Cheyenne, and you'll get about 20% better fuel economy because it's just the natural fuel and it doesn't go bad. So if you leave your car parked for a long time, it doesn't gunk up the carburetor. The secondary issue is if you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, or Murdoch's and buy a new chainsaw, it boldly says you will void your warranty if you use pump gas, ethanol gas in this small engine. It can't take it. Secondly, they're 2 strokes, so it really can't take it. So luckily, the governor helped us bring this in several years ago, and that's one issue. The guy that hauls gas is absolutely right. Most of our fuel comes out of Sinclair in Wyoming. And that's a huge facility there on Western I-80. And it's brought down via pipeline and also via truck.
Yeah. Now, Jay, I'm going to interrupt just for a sec because I want to go back to the impacts on gas, carburetor, engine, fuel economy based on the EPA, because we had a gentleman that called, but he couldn't hang on. He was driving. He's out there, being employed and stuff. So he couldn't hang on with us. But his question was the impact of this new reformulated gas on the regular engine. His concern is he's used some of the EPA reformulated gas in the past, and it's mucked up his carburetor. It's mucked up his injectors. Yeah. And so talk to us about that and what the impact is going to be, because you're well aware of what happens and why the older engines need that pure gas. So what's the issue?
Yeah, so the older engines have rubber seals in them, and right now I made the mistake of not putting pure gas in one of my Porsches, and so I'm having the fuel system have to be cleaned out because it dries out. It's full of alcohol. First of all, just wipe the back of your hand with alcohol. It dries up instantly. So it dries up the rings and the rubber O-rings in the carburetor and the injection system. Secondly, when it dries out and it's all crusty. So you have to have your carburetor clean, and all of these things are just negative to your engine. So the other issue too, if you leave the old ethanol, the pure gas you can buy now, but even ethanol from the 60s, which are gasoline from the 60s, it never goes bad. It's oil. It never goes bad. So it doesn't chew things up. It also lubricates the inside of the engine. On a modern aircraft like a 172 that we fly a Centennial, it has to have oil of the natural fuel because that's what the gasoline's made out of, and it lubricates the engine to a small extent. So now I have to have my car cleaned out by a mechanic because I made the mistake of leaving it all winter long, and it gunked up the system. And you've seen pictures of it, Billy. It's a beautiful car, and I'm
it's
really
gorgeous.
upset.
Yeah, that's what I had to do with the. That's why I eventually, just a couple of seasons ago, went to an EV lawnmower, because letting the ethanol gas and stuff sit over the winter, I would have to clean out the carburetor. I have to take it apart. I have to clean some of the rings and add stuff every year because of the buildup. And Jay's right, the alcohol that evaporates out of it, there's a sediment that's left inside, and especially in a tiny carburetor. I mean, I'd have to get basically, the twist ties that go around the bags, the sandwich baggies and bread. I would have to use that, strip it, and use that wire to get inside pieces of the carburetor in order to clean it out because of the buildup. Jay, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. And we have a good day. It was really difficult. And he's absolutely right that the wear and tear on the engines is real. And there are going to be people out there that have older model cars that are going to end up with higher repair bills for stuff they shouldn't have to be repairing based on this new formulation.
So let's say this doesn't get the delay doesn't get approved by the EPA, and we have to deal with this. What do you think Polis does?
He's going to do two things. He's going to release something about how wonderful it is and how he's saving the planet, and our air is going to be better. Oh, absolutely. And then he's going to release another one saying he's very, very mad that the EPA wouldn't do this for us. I guarantee you he's going to have both messages. Now, they're not going to come out on the same day, but I guarantee you both messages are being drawn up.
Sounds like a great politician.
He's going to pat himself on the back like this and say, look at this and how we're saving the planet, and look at this and we're all of us can breathe easier. And then he's going to say, ooh, I'm super mad like you are. The EPA didn't let us, and it's not my fault, because he doesn't want to take responsibility for the gas prices going up. He just wants to do the victory lap about air. That's all he really wants. Yeah, he'll do both.
I did a poll yesterday on my X account. Based on the evidence presented by Bragg, would you vote to convict Donald Trump? Yes or no? I'm going to give you the results of that poll in just a second. I want to talk to you about Colorado Christian University. Do you have a high school student considering their college plans? Are they ready to discover more about their gifts and talents? Do you hope to see them become part of the next generation of Christian leaders? Your student is invited to Colorado Christian University's Discovery Preview. This week-long event is completely free. Discovery Preview is designed for students who desire to seek God's purpose and calling in their lives. Students are immersed in the community, culture, and mission of CCU. Workshops focused on calling, career, and Christ-centered leadership help them explore their unique strengths and potential career options. CCU's Christ-centered community takes students on a Colorado adventure to experience the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. Eligible students can also qualify for a $1,250 annual scholarship just for attending. Don't miss Discovery Preview this summer, June 17th through the 21st. The event is designed for juniors and seniors in high school, and again, it's absolutely free. To learn more, go to ccu.edu/discovery. That's ccu.edu/discovery. All right, Bill, what do you think the poll results were?
Oh, I think overwhelmingly no, that they are going to say no, that Bragg didn't make the claim, in part because of the MSNBC audio that you played earlier. Mm-hmm. And if people didn't join us earlier in the show, in the 6 o'clock hour, Jeff played some audio from MSNBC talking to voters in Georgia, minority voters that said they feel like Trump is being bullied by the government, and it makes them much more likely to vote for Trump. And I feel that is the general feeling around the country. I don't think that has been a good PR job explaining exactly what's going on and why this is a crime or an issue, because one of the questions we've got all the time is, what's the crime? And that's repeated often enough, and not everybody can easily or readily answer that. And if you can't, I believe the larger voter population is going to say no, he should not be convicted. But what did it say?
91% no, 9% yes. And no, my Twitter followers tend to skew one direction.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. And this one, this could be. There could be. I wouldn't be surprised if he does come in with a conviction. But again, I'm not going to be surprised if there is an acquittal as well, because juries are always interesting. And as I've talked about, the idea of making this a felony, for me, that is a huge hurdle to overcome. You come at me with the misdemeanor, that's easy. That's bing, bang, done, snap, all day. I can see the misdemeanor because that's a fine. Felony, possible prison, yeah, I have a hard time getting there on these charges.
Speaking of news, Lauren Boebert in court today with Donald Trump there to support him. So we're going to try to get her on the show tomorrow to get some details on what it's like to be in there.
Yeah.
So, but she's there with Donald Trump today. New poll I have out on X. If you want to go to my X account, Jeff Hunt. Is Joe Biden a Manchurian candidate paid for by foreign countries?
Interesting.
Yes or no? So just put that up there. Let me know what your thought. Donald Trump made that claim. Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate paid for by foreign countries. Do you agree with that or not? I want to talk to you about American financing. Despite everything the Fed has been trying, we're still feeling the effects of inflation. Filling up your car, grocery shopping, home repairs, everything is more expensive. This is good ad copy based upon what we've been talking about all day today. And most of you are paying these bills with a credit card. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. If you're a homeowner, there is a way out. You need to call my friends at American Financing. They can put together a plan to pay off that high-interest credit card debt and create meaningful savings for you every month. Guys, that credit card debt, you get in that cycle, that is a vicious cycle. You're barely making your monthly payments, and that interest is compounding. It is a bad news. They're saving people just like you an average of $854 a month and closing in as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself into a better position. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. It costs nothing to get started. And if you start today, you can delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. American Financing can help get that monkey off your back. American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000. AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, consumeraccess.org. All right, I want to talk about endorsements. Colorado Republican Party coming out with primary endorsements, which, that's still a little weird to say because that doesn't typically happen. What I've said on the show before as someone who's worked for the state party, the idea that the chairman of the Republican Party or that Dave Williams is in any way scandalous because he's trying to get the team he wants to go fight with against the Democrats, it's not new. Other chairmen have done it, but they just do it a lot more quietly. And in this case, the Colorado GOP is very on the nose about who they're endorsing. This from the Colorado GOP yesterday with regards to Congressional District 3. The Colorado State Republican Party officially endorses Ron Hanks for Congressional District 3. The Colorado Republican Party is proud to announce our endorsement of former state representative Ron Hanks in the Republican primary election for Colorado's 3rd congressional district. Our main criteria, listen to this, Bill. You think this is true?
Yep.
For Hanks is his higher likelihood of defeating the radical Democrat Adam Frisch in the general election.
Okay. Right.
Here's their reasoning.
Really?
While the party would ultimately support whichever candidate wins the Republican primary election, we have grave concerns about the other major contenders in this race. Jeff Hurd's original and problematic reason for running was to challenge conservative stalwart Lauren Boebert while promising to move the district in a leftward moderate direction. Additionally, Hurd refuses to commit to voting for President Donald J. Trump in the 2024 general election, which is especially concerning with his ties to Open Borders organization Americans for Prosperity that also raised $70 million to defeat President Trump in the presidential primary. These issues, combined with his refusal to gain ballot access through the grassroots caucus and assembly process, makes Jeff Hurd a poor candidate to be our party's standard bearer in CD3. Thoughts on that?
This is paper thin BS on its face, especially given the position of both Mr. Hanks and the Colorado GOP. That is basically the Colorado GOP wandering up onto your porch with a bag of dog poo and lighting it on fire and hoping that you step out of the door and pounce on it. That's what they're hoping. This is complete and total crap. And I'll tell you this, here's why. First, they're endorsing a candidate that they already placed elsewhere in the party to work on election integrity. So they're choosing an insider, someone that is already on their team, the close guy. So that to me, I have questions about the idea. Again, when we have a chairman that has decided that he is going to run and promote himself in another congressional district. It seems like this is, for all the complaints about the Democrats being an insider club, this reeks of being an insider club. This reeks of it. Here's the other question I have. Really important. They're concerned about support. And they talk about how they're going to support the candidate in the primary and how they have questions about what happens in the general. And so they're going to support Ron Hanks, who, let's go back in 2022. What was the election cycle there? He was in a primary for a seat, and he
For
lost.
the U.S. Senate.
And he lost. Did he endorse the GOP candidate, or did he endorse a libertarian candidate that wasn't part of the party? Who did he endorse? He didn't endorse the GOP candidate.
No, he did not. Joe
Nope.
Day was the candidate.
Nope, he did not. So let me get this straight. The Colorado party that is worried in the primary about who should be supported in the general nominates a person, and not nominates, but puts their support behind a person who in the last election cycle, not years ago, in the last election cycle, when he lost a primary, wouldn't support someone in the party. And yet you're telling me now this is the guy that you're supposed to be loyal after? The guy who did not return that loyalty in the last election cycle? And you want me to believe that this is genuine? This is crap. This is a burning pile of dog poo they're leaving on your porch and hoping you come out and stomp on it. That's what they're hoping.
And it's not just Jeff Hurd. They have words for Stephen Varela as well.
Of course, because he's not the insider.
He's also someone we cannot endorse because of his refusal to disclose key issue positions and any possible history of criminal or ethics violations beyond what has already been reported. I don't know about those details. Furthermore, Varela refused to be transparent with Colorado Republicans after we invited him to explain why he switched parties so many times to become a Democrat throughout the years, while apparently working to defeat Lauren Boebert and President Trump in 2020 as a registered Democrat. Varela hiding his apparent opposition to President Trump and likely supported Joe Biden in 2020, along with his refusal to answer critical questions about pro-life policy, the Second Amendment, and securing our border makes him much more likely to be defeated by Adam Frisch through his inability to convince voters that he's the best choice for CD3, especially with libertarians vowing to run a spoiler candidate against him, as well as Jeff Hurd. Ron Hanks not only answered the party's questions, but he also proudly published his answers for the public to see. That's interesting because I would have liked the party to publish anybody's
It's weird.
answers.
It's weird, though, that here's the idea. It's weird that we sit there and say that he proudly answered and then published his answers. Because I remember last cycle that he said he was going to support the GOP nominee for the race of the Senate seat that he was seeking. And then he didn't. That's weird that during the last election cycle, he lied about it. And then it's held up in front of our faces right now, the Colorado GOP saying, we got to believe it because he told us. And the other thing contained in that statement is the purity test. We've debated whether or not there's a purity test for Donald Trump and the Colorado GOP.
Right.
And the Colorado GOP has just confirmed that for us, that the purity test that has been cited on both those two other individuals is they lack the ability to 100% support Donald Trump. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Ignoring the fact that the person that they are nominating, that you're putting, not nominating, but putting their push behind, saying this is our chosen candidate, didn't support the Republican candidate in Colorado in the last election. That's less important than fealty to the great leader. That is less important than standing up and proudly putting your hand over your heart or having a picture like they do in North Korea of Kim Jong-un in your house so you can worship it every day. That's more important than supporting a Colorado GOP candidate for a Colorado office. That's more important to them.
Ron Hanks will secure the border. They continue, cut out of control taxes and spending, protect the unborn, defend the Second Amendment, and enthusiastically support our 2024 Republican presidential nominee, Donald J. Trump. The Colorado Republican Party encourages all CD3 Republicans and unaffiliated voters to vote for Ron Hanks in the Republican primary on June 25th. Here's the question I want to hear.
Hang on a second. It's just when you went through there, just before, and then I want to get to the question. When you went through that, did it say anything about supporting the candidate that actually wins the primary? Did it? Did
They
it say
said
that?
they would. The state party said they would.
But it's not about the candidate won't. He hasn't. So the idea is we need to get this person's the bestest possible, most wonderfulest boy, and he has to be the nominee. But never in that list of what makes him the most wonderfulest choice is the idea that he supports the Colorado GOP candidates, because he doesn't. His behavior shows that he doesn't support Colorado GOP candidates universally. He's not necessarily on the team if he's mad about you guys. Yet this is the person. This is the person. Really. Again, this is a steaming pile of crap. Okay.
Good text message coming in. How much money has the Hanks juggernaut raised to take on Frisch's truckload of money?
Probably not enough to replace that copy machine he shot in the last election. Probably still working on that payment. Like that one?
Give us a call. Do you like Ron Hanks? Do you think the state party was right to endorse him? Are they clearing out the rhinos? And you'd like to see where these candidates are, and let's get behind the most conservatives and go out there and win in November. Or is this a big distraction? The state party should not be doing this. Let the primary voters decide, and then the state party should come in and help the Republicans win. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Lines are open, or text us 710 KNUS app. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710. KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. The Prime Minister of Slovakia is out of surgery following an assassination attempt, which has rocked the Central European country. Prime Minister Robert Fico was shaking hands with crowds when a man pulled out a gun and shot the leader multiple times. The Prime Minister was bundled into his armoured car and taken to a nearby hospital where doctors spent several hours operating on him. The Deputy Prime Minister has said his boss is expected to survive. Police arrested the alleged shooter at the scene but have not named him or revealed a motive. The CDC reports that the number of fatal overdoses in the US fell last year. In New York, Haley Bianco has the details.
The CDC says about 107,500 people died of overdoses in the U.S. last year. That's down 3% from 2022. The last time a decline occurred was in 2018. CDC officials noted the data is provisional and could change after more analysis, but they still expect a drop when the final counts are in. They say the decline is relatively small, while also noting that the last time a decline occurred in 2018, drug deaths rose again soon after.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
All right, the Colorado State Party endorsing Ron Hanks for Congressional District 3. Do you think this is a good move? Lots of text messages coming in on this one. What happens to the money when these candidates collect if they don't spend it all and they don't win an election? They can donate it. We used to receive some donations from folks like that. So if you have a leftover money, they can give it to a charity and pass it on to there. This is why the Colorado GOP can't have nice things.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. Because this is just, again, the dude that didn't support the party nominee last time. And they were like, no, this is our guy. And then they talk about loyalty inside of there. And it's not loyalty the way they describe it. It's fealty. It's fealty to Trump. The other one that's going to be a really interesting thing inside of CD3 is of the electorate inside of CD3. If you had to guess, Jeff, if you had to guess just randomly.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah. Now, what percentage of that electorate do you believe thinks 100% Joe Biden stole the 2020 election? What percentage do you think that electorate feels?
I don't
and it's
think
not just
it's
like maybe.
I don't think it's
yes,
as conservative as CD4.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And I think that's played out in the fact that Lauren Boebert wasn't doing that well there.
Yeah. So again, if you had to guess, again, I'm not going to hold it to you, but I'm just saying, and the reason I'm asking random
percentage that believes that
is it 30%, 40, 50, 60? And again, I'm not talking
20,
questions.
20.
I'm talking, firm belief.
20, 15 to 20.
I would agree with that. I think that's I think it's very accurate. And here's the problem. Hanks is a true believer. He and I got into it pretty heavy last time he was on the show over exactly that. He is a true believer that the election for 2020 was stolen based on a massive organized fraud. If I am going to run against him either in the primary or in the general, there's my in. Mm-hmm. I am going to say, here's a dude that believes this. Is this the guy that is going to accurately represent you in Washington based on these conclusions? And I still say the other reason it holds as an Achilles heel is if this person comes to this conclusion and you think they're wrong, what else are they wrong about? What other wrong conclusions are they going to come to based on the available information? Are you going to trust them to make those decisions with your life? This is an Achilles heel.
Text messenger disagrees with you, Bill. 1193. Yeah. I love what the GOP is doing, supporting strong warriors who will fight for us. I'm tired of wimpy politicians who cave to the Democrats and don't know how to fight their tyrannical liberal legislation.
Yeah. I got a question for the texter. Who was Ron Hanks fighting for in the 2022 election cycle? Who did he throw his support behind when he wasn't the nominee?
Well, do you remember why? Do you remember why he didn't support Joe Day?
Well, again, because he didn't have the purity enough. But again,
life, because
sure.
Joe Day came out and supported Roe v. Wade.
Sure, but the issue is this.
And Ron's like, I'm not going to support a guy who does that.
Yeah, but who did he support? The libertarian. Yeah.
Right.
Was he? Because again, the person there is saying, he's a good fighter. He's going to fight for the GOP and he's going to move the GOP forward. He didn't. He didn't fight for the GOP. When he had a chance to support, even if he disagreed on that issue, he had a chance to support the candidate and he decided not to. That's important, especially when you're talking about supporting the team. He's supposed to be a team player. He's wearing the jersey. Hell, he is a member of the Colorado GOP party, the election integrity dude. He is that far up the totem pole. And yet in the last 2 years ago, in the election cycle, he couldn't be bothered to support a GOP candidate that he disagreed with on an issue? Seriously. That's the guy. That's the guy that we have to have loyalty to. That's the guy that the people get mad about if they may disagree with Donald Trump about some things, but you got to vote for him because he's better than Biden. But it wasn't the issue in the Senate.
I will tell you this,
race.
The grassroots conservative voter in the Republican Party right now.
Yeah.
And the old school Republicans, for whatever reason, I can't figure out why they can't wrap their minds around this, want an elbow throwing fighter for conservative principles.
I know.
That is why Donald Trump continues to win. That's why down at the state party, Dave Williams celebrated by those people in that room. The grassroots, engage on the ground, knock doors, passionate about this, think about it every day. They have so moved past the idea of kind of the country club business guy that's going to walk into a room and be friends with Democrats. And they want a guy who's going to go in and throw elbows. And Ron Hanks, the endorsement, the Senate, all that stuff. Jeff Hurd, though, is not throwing a lot of elbows in his campaign.
Here's the thing. What is one of the issues that people have with Ken Buck in the fourth right now? That he's not loyal enough to the Republican causes and not voting with Republicans and not voting. That's weird. Because in the last election cycle, Ron Hanks didn't support the Republican in the race. Didn't try to get the Republican elected. In fact, came out publicly to not get the Republican in the race elected. And I understand the idea that you want him to throw elbows. But if you want to win, wouldn't a Republican senator have helped a wee bit at this point? But no, not at all. He wasn't willing to support the team.
That's a fine calculation. Joe Day was not a Republican. He was a rhino, 7114 said. Republican in name only.
Yeah, but who would he have voted with and who would he have caucused with if he got to the Senate? He would have been a vote on the Republican side of the legislature and could have even helped the Republicans have control of the Senate. So regardless of whether or not you disagree with him on the abortion issue, he's going to give you more Republican votes. But when Ron Hanks saw that, he said, no, I'm not going to send that Republican vote to the Senate. I'm not going to put an extra R so that Mitch McConnell has more power. No. I'm not doing that. That's the choice he made.
Doing the same thing.
Oh, absolutely he is. Yes.
By saying I'm not going to support Trump.
Yep.
And Mike Pence.
Yeah. In some ways, yes, absolutely. But again, the reason I'm pushing on this so hard is because the letter we got from the GOP talks about loyalty. Party loyalty, who you're loyal to and who you're supporting. Yet the person they're endorsing 2 years ago couldn't be bothered to show the same loyalty, couldn't be bothered with it, but now he's good enough. Now he is. Bullcrap.
4775. In my opinion, this is a text message. I feel like the Colorado GOP has turned into the poster child for Revenge of the Nerds.
I'd agree on that one. Yeah, absolutely.
I've only seen that movie once.
Oh, that's good. The electric violin at the end. That's good.
How about the fact that Ron Hanks does not have, this is another text message, does not have enough funds to text his own neighborhood, let alone CD3. Frisch has 5.8 million and Hanks has 9,000.
Yeah. And the issue is and they're going to come at him hard based on the shooting of the copier. That is a huge issue because he is a true believer and he can't walk back on that. And that's the pain point. That's his Achilles heel. If I'm running Fish's campaign, that's the ad that I'm drawing up right now.
Hey, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need to call Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found in Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Had family members get the hair thing done, and they look totally different. Brings back youth, brings back energy, brings back the ladies for them. So, check them out, advancedhair.com. Yeah, a lot of good text messages. Not Joe O'Day, not a grassroots politician. Okay. Well, Joe may come back. He may run for Senate again. I've seen some rumblings about that. And he did get a higher percentage point than Heidi Gahnal did.
Yeah. So, there's some people out there that did. And again,
that split the ticket on that.
And if you're in a blue state, perhaps hardcore red purity isn't going to get you where you need to go. Maybe you need some of the purple first and then eventually get to the red. I have people try the pool first in the 3-foot end before getting into the deep end. Maybe. That's an idea.
We'll get to this and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Talking Congressional District 3 endorsement from the Colorado Republican Party. Ron Hanks receiving that endorsement. Text message here. We don't even know Hanks, his government name or his record. I'd like sharp elbows too, but this has been an issue for at least a generation. You have to win the general. Nominating people at assembly who can't win is self-gratification. Remember Dan Mays? Woo!
Ooh, yeah.
Throwing the throwback there.
And a sharp elbow.
Sharp elbow. That's right. All right. The left's going after the kicker for the Chiefs. We'll talk about that and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Kicker's not a real football player.
In the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS, and I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes like this text message, Bill, soccer isn't a real sport either.
That's why we call it football.
It is a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news, NFL condemns Harrison Butker's, quote, sexist, anti-LGBT graduation speech. We're steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, except if you're a social conservative Roman Catholic. We won't include you in that, but we'll play clips from his speech because change.org is leading a petition to try to get him fired.
That's silly.
For making such statements as, celebrating his wife and caring for their family and,
and as you know, so many employment decisions are made based on petitions.
Change.org petitions.
All the time. That's exactly.
This was the one time I have honestly thought about buying a Chiefs jersey. I would never buy a Chiefs jersey except to support Harrison Butker in this case. We'll play part of his speech of why the left is so angry, but I don't want to support the Chiefs. I want to see if they're going to stay with them. If they stay with them, I'll get a Butker's jersey because I like this guy. I am a diehard Broncos fan. This is how
you can't own a Chiefs jersey. You can go find something else.
This is a Butker's jersey.
No, it's not. It's a Chiefs jersey.
We'll get to this and more. Let's check in on Blake Olson's news. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, you know what? I think I may do that too. I hate jerseys, but I'm so sick of the NFL.
I want to send a message.
Wear one with you on the show. I may get one of those. Yeah.
I want them to have like record Butker jersey sales and then fire the guy and have to explain that.
And then I'll donate mine, Bill. Okay. I'm going to donate my Chiefs jersey to some Chiefs fan in Kansas City you can't afford one.
What I'm going to do is
That's
on
great.
the day that you guys wear your Chiefs jerseys, I'm going to come in wearing my Broncos jersey, and then on social media, I'm going to say which one of these people really loves Colorado. I'm just going to use it to denigrate both of you.
I hate that. I hate that. I love Coloradans who are Raider fans. That's old. That's for the 70s and 80s. It's 2024. It doesn't matter.
I disagree.
I have a shirt that says, if Love and Tebow is wrong, I don't want to be right. And I feel like I can do the same thing about Butker.
No, you can't. No.
They're
he
all
plays for the
hired
Chiefs.
hands. I hate the NFL. This is ridiculous.
If it was just another team out of our division, I'd be okay with it. Not in our division. That is a sin.
Billy. They don't care about you. They're like politicians. They hate you. They don't care about you.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Here's a great text message, real quick. I see a new Taylor Swift song coming.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is fantastic.
I'm almost through with the NFL. After you told me that story, after I heard it, I can't wait to hear what you guys are going to talk about. So yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, 57 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the mid 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Probably should do it early so that he can, he's not going to get any better.
Former President Trump says President Biden may not be physically and mentally able to debate, but he's ready for anything and won't underestimate him or the process as they'll debate in June and September. Trump told Hugh Hewitt Biden is compromised.
Joe Biden is a Manchurian candidate in the truest sense of the word. He is being paid off by China, and he's being paid off by Russia, and he's being paid off and was paid off by Ukraine. You take a look at that. Just look at it. I mean, the money is coming from every different angle.
Trump is in court again this morning in New York, and Colorado's Lauren Boebert is there to support him in the campaign derailment trial. Jeff is going to try to get her on the show tomorrow. Former candidate for Colorado Governor Heidi Gahnal on the show this morning with Jeff and Bill, and she calls Governor Polis Governor Gaslight and believes he still wants to be in the White House.
I do think he wants to run for president. He's teeing it up behind the scenes. He's still got great relationships with all the national media. He's on, the talk shows every once in a while to pipe in as the libertarian-ish governor, which is anything but. It just mocks all of us to say that. I've never seen such an onslaught of regulation and control and power plays as I did in this last legislative session.
Okay, time out. I think anything is possible in the next 5 months with the presidency. Will Crooked Joe survive? Will Kamala be the candidate? Will Payne course with Crooked Gavin Newsom? Or who knows, maybe Polis. So it got me thinking. And these guys were talking about Hanks, and this is just a coincidence. But I agree with Ron Hanks, what he told Jeff and Bill I think it was 2 months ago.
I'm not sure that is going to be the Democrat ticket. I think Gavin Newsom, and this might make news in Colorado, but I've been saying it, Gavin Newsom and Jared Polis will ultimately be the Democrat ticket. And Joe Biden's going to stumble off.
Oh, that's awesome. So Billy just said that Hanks is going to be on with you guys tomorrow.
We are. We got him at 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's right.
See, can you see Biden running honestly in 3 months, 4 months? I don't think it's going to happen.
I think the only people that are talking about Biden not running are conservatives. I don't see it on the Democrat side. They feel like he beat Trump one time. He's going to beat him again. And they don't mind him.
And I also think the Democrats feel stuck because if they were going to move him out, it needed to happen earlier. And the only reason being that if the Democrat Party anoints someone, I don't think the average rank and file Democrat voter, especially those that are more conservative, those that are closer to being unaffiliated or even being persuaded by conservative messages, they would reject it. They're like, you do not get to anoint the person that I'm going to choose. However, this is the thought is, my thought was early on, I thought what they were trying to do is they were going to give a lot of boost to Kamala, that Kamala was going to appear next to Biden as his right hand, and then Biden would bow out in year 3, and then she comes in, and now she's allowed to get 2 terms. But unfortunately, she's been such a clown show, they can't do that. But I think that was the original plan, honestly.
Right. Well, okay, so in the past week and a half, we've seen this all of a sudden, the mainstream media is doing their job, right?
Yeah,
they're questioning, and they're looking at Biden and actually asking him a few questions, that are serious, like that CNN interview. And to me, that tells me that behind whoever it is, Obama or whoever's running this thing, they're getting it ready to go. And then I've seen Hillary like twice. Right?
Yeah, they're not going to run Hillary because she was so toxic last time around.
Right, she wasn't likable.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else outside of Newsom. And again, even then, if they walked out on stage and then here's your new nominee, I just feel that the rank and file voters, the idea that you are going to place the crown on someone and not ask us how we feel, I just think in America, that's an antithesis to the process. That while I think it makes sense, I think, Blake, you're absolutely right that it makes sense for the Democrats to replace him. I think they're stuck. I don't think they can because of that. That there are going to be a lot of people that just said, And especially think about those disaffected Republicans that they were able to not vote for Trump last time. That was kind of the some of the things that happened, especially in Arizona. Those people that didn't vote for Trump last time, you anoint someone else on the Democrat side, they're going back to Trump. Or they're going to vote for RFK Jr. and just throw it away. Yeah.
Hey, they're on thin ice. Speaking of ice.
Great move, McCarr. Let's it go. He scores. Kill McCarr. Floats one through Ottinger. And just like that, it's 4-2 Colorado.
The Avalanche avoid elimination in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Cale Makar, a pair of goals, 5-3 over the Stars. Game 6 in Denver tomorrow. The Rockies have won 7 straight.
1-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Got him with a breaking ball.
And the Rockies have their first shutout of the year.
Let's go, Rock Show.
They have their first sweep in San Diego since 2013.
Craziness, man. It's going to be packed at Coors Field again if they keep on winning. 8-0 over the Padres. They start a series with the Giants tomorrow. Jordan Beck, 3 of 4, home run and 5 RBI. Nuggets try to finish off the T-Wolves tonight in Minnesota. Game 6. They lead it 3-2. Sometimes kickers are athletes. We'll talk about that later. Can't wait to listen to these guys coming up in the Power Hour. Jeff and Bill, they continue. It's 55 in Highlands Ranch, 54 in Lakewood, and 57 in Denver. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS 5-day forecast is going to bring a lot of sunshine back to the Denver Metro today and through much of the weekend. High pressure over the four corners will allow for highs in the mid-70s today and lows tonight in the lower 50s. Upper 70s and some low 80s on the plains for Friday. Might get a little breezy to end the work week, but we're keeping it dry. Lows Friday night in the lower 50s. For the weekend, upper 70s, low 80s, isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Speaking of this, Harrison Butker's jersey is currently above Patrick Mahomes in the NFL's bestseller list.
Oh, that's great. I love the fact that the kicker is outselling the quarterback. That is hilarious. If I was Butker's, I would be getting that put onto like a plaque I would have a picture of that, and I would have it in my locker room inside of the facility at Kansas City. Because every time that Patrick Mahomes said something, I'd be like, hey, hang on. Have you seen the sales for the jerseys here?
For the kicker?
Exactly. Oh my God.
So change.org and the left big mad, 105,000 signatures they have gathered. Did Harrison Butker beat his wife? No. Did he have relations out of wedlock and abandon the child? No. Is he hooking up with girls regularly on the weekends and paying to have abortions? No. What Harrison Butker did that was so upsetting to Democrats and to the left was he gave a speech, a commencement speech at Benedictine University. And to set the stage here a little bit, Benedictine University is one of the most conservative schools in America. When I was at CCU, they would battle back and forth as to who was more conservative and who could take more kids to the March for Life. And in fact, Benedictine shuts down the entire school for the March for Life, puts their kids on buses, and from Kansas goes all the way to Washington, D.C. So to give you a sense of how conservative Benedictine College is, they're about as conservative as you get. They're right up there with Hillsdale. All right. Change.org put together a petition, demand the Kansas City Chiefs to dismiss Harrison Butker for discriminatory remarks. And then they clipped his speech, and this is the offensive speech.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. By making it to this moment through all the adversity thrown your way from COVID, I hope you learned the important lessons that suffering in this life is only temporary. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on society. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify him.
I'd give that guy a standing ovation, but the left, no. Here's change.org, the harmful remarks by a traditional social conservative Catholic. No, that's not in there, but that's what Harrison Butker is. By Harrison Butker, kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs during his commencement address at Benedictine College were unacceptable. His comments were sexist, homophobic, anti-trans, anti-abortion, and racist. I didn't hear anything in there that was racist. The dehumanizing remarks against LGBTQ plus individuals, attacks on abortion rights, and racial discrimination perpetuate division and undermine human rights. These comments reinforce harmful stereotypes that threaten social progress. See, that's it. That's really why they're frustrated. They create a toxic environment that hinders our collective efforts towards equality, diversity, and inclusion in society. I'm glad they put DAI right in there. It's unacceptable for such a public figure to use their platform to foster harm rather than unity. Fostering harm rather than unity. And as I pointed out, Change.org is not upset about all the other players that are hooking up and abandoning their children. And I know this from firsthand because one of my friends was pressured to get an abortion by an NFL player that she had hooked up with, and the amount of pressure was crazy. They were going to pay for everything. They were going to pay her to silence, to go away. She refused to do it, had a wonderful son. No Change.org petitions about that, but a Catholic man with deep Catholic abiding faith speaking at a Catholic university that shares his same values. That is news we have to address. They continue. It's important to note that these types of discriminatory attitudes contribute significantly towards societal issues such as hate crimes, which have been on the rise in recent years. You Roman Catholic with your faith are contributing to hate crimes. Furthermore, they can lead to increased mental health issues among targeted communities. We demand accountability from our sports figures who should be role models promoting respect for all people regardless of their race, gender, identity, or sexual orientation. I don't think he disrespects them. I think he just disagrees with them. They continue.
I don't know. The deadly Pride Month thing, that could be considered disrespectful.
Pride is a deadly sin. Aren't you Catholic? Isn't it considered a deadly sin?
The way in which he presents it. I'm talking about the way in which he presents it. That could be, yeah.
But he's not calling for any type of violence or hate crime.
No, but I understand the way that he's presenting it, though. I mean, I can see that. I can see why the idea, behind it. Sure.
We demand accountability from our sports leaders. We call upon Kansas City Chiefs management to dismiss Harrison Butker immediately for his inappropriate conduct. Please sign this petition if you stand with us against discrimination and believe in fostering an inclusive society. There's nothing about this that's inclusive. This is like the exact opposite of inclusive. Bill,
in some ways,
one question I've always had, because you're what I would consider a classical liberal in the sense of not a liberal.
Yeah, not big L, little. Yeah.
Right. And the idea of free speech. Yeah. Right. So I go back to Berkeley free speech. Yeah. Like we're all going to compete and we'll let the best ideas win.
Absolutely.
And the critique has been, New York Times, Bari Weiss, we kicked her out. What was traditionally classical liberal institutions have now become leftist institutions.
Yeah. And I agree with
where
that assertion.
We go after people we don't like. And
just like
and
last
try
hour,
to shut them down.
Call back to last hour, purity tests. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Purity
absolutely.
tests.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I would agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Harrison Butker. Now, the NFL just coming out today.
Yeah.
NFL condemns Harrison Butker's sexist anti-LGBT graduation speech. We're steadfast in our commitment to inclusion. The National Football League condemned Harrison Butker's sexist and anti-LGBTQ graduation speech at Benedictine College over the weekend. Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity, right? There's nothing he's doing that represents the NFL here.
No, but the NFL can condemn the speech, etc. However, they're not taking any action about it. So for me, this is the perfect response for this PR issue from the NFL.
As a Catholic, you think so?
Oh no, I'm talking about this is the perfect PR response. This is because what they're doing as an organization is they're standing there, and much as we've heard, there was last week, there was some audio that Blake was playing, some other people were playing, where someone was talking about how we're dealing with the migrants, and the guy said, "And for that, we say shame," and the entire crowd goes, "Shame, shame!" Remember that part? Remember that audio?
Yeah,
you're playing.
Yeah.
Same thing here. The NFL is coming out and saying, "For his conduct, we say shame," and all the rest of the teams are going, "Shame," and then nothing's going to happen. This is the perfect PR because they can take a position without taking a position. That's what they're doing here.
They're taking a position.
Now,
they are taking a position.
They're taking a position without taking a position because they're not taking any action with it. And this is the idea. This is the same BS as when our Colorado legislature or even a city council goes, we stand with this group or we think this is wrong. Nobody cares. No, this is a performative statement that has no real impact. That's the reason. They're not taking a position because this has no real impact. If they had a position about it, they do something about it. But all they're doing is saying something. This is nothing more than PR smoke designed to cover their ass. And it's well written.
His views are not those of the NFL as an organization.
Yeah.
The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, except for if you're a social conservative Roman Catholic, which only makes our league stronger.
He's included.
They just condemned him. They just said his views are not those of the NFL.
But
that's not inclusive.
Hang on a second. Yes, it is because he's still in the NFL. They can disagree with him, but they still allow him to be part of the club. And they're not saying that he can't speak. They're saying that we disagree with what he's saying, but he's still allowed to put on that jersey. Sunday, he's still going to be on that field kicking the ball.
I disagree. Here's why. Here's why. The NFL is totally in the tank for the leftist worldview of inclusion. Totally in the tank.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
Sure.
They're so far in the tank, they got a scuba diving outfit.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what we know about all of the billionaire, mostly white owners are absolutely and totally woke. And when you think of Jerry Jones, ooh, dude's woke. That's the most wokest dude you can possibly think of. Really? Seriously? Dan Snyder, who was previously the Washington Redskins owner, that was the woke dude. This is the woke thing. Yeah, sure.
I think corporate NFL. I think corporate NFL is so far in the leftist tank that what should be a nothing burger.
Yeah.
What should be Benedictine College. Oh, that's interesting. This was a majority of the views of the world 50 years ago, and Barack Obama's view back in 2008 when he ran for president is all of a sudden the views that are not the NFL organization. And then they claim to be inclusive. Man, this is DEI, leftist baloney at the corporate level.
No.
This is what happens when you educate all your little MBAs in Ivy League schools to embrace wokeism. And then they go into the NFL and they run the organization like this.
So they told him he can't do this anymore. Did they suspend him?
They're pretty close to it.
No, they didn't tell him he couldn't. They said he did this in his private capacity. They didn't suspend him. They're not taking any action
not yet.
Because of it. Yeah.
Not
now,
yet.
Again, I can change my conclusion if that happens. Based on now, this is PR puffery. That means nothing. This is exactly the line I would expect from a bunch of billionaire owners that want to make sure that everybody out there still watches their game and buys their beer and buys the products they sell to you during those broadcasts. This is exactly the statement they need to make because they can't in this area necessarily pick sides. They say, we're going to be inclusive, but they're not taking any actions against him. They're not saying he's not allowed to say this. He's not allowed to do this. None of that. So this is fine. It's PR puffery, and it's designed to cover their ass. Absolutely. But I guarantee you to a T, if you asked those NFL owners, do they agree more with the super libs in the DEI or they agree with Butker's? They're going to agree with Butker's. They're going to fall on his side.
Owners, I'll give you that. But corporate NFL, no way, man. They are all in the leftist tank.
Corporate NFL is the owners.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
They could be totally different. The commissioner and the owners.
Who employs the commissioner?
Vice president of marketing and PR in the NFL is not the same person as the owners.
Yes, it is. Who employs the commissioner? The commissioner
the
dances.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. The commissioner dances to the pleasure of the owners.
Dude,
yes, the owners are the NFL.
This NFL will bend over backwards for Colin Kaepernick. Right.
Okay.
And his voice.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Now, he might not be good enough to play.
No, who's he playing
but they
for?
will bend over backwards to support his voice and his rights to be able to speak that stuff. But when it comes to Harrison Butker, they will go out there and condemn it.
Excuse me. Where was the
where was the NFL
Where's
condemning?
The platform?
Was the NFL condemning?
Where's the platform that Colin Kaepernick got? Where's the place they promoted him?
All of these organizations.
Wait, the NFL is not Nike. Nike is a separate corporation. That's not the NFL.
That's his quality.
You can't. No, but you can't turn around and blame the NFL for what Nike does.
Did the NFL condemn Colin Kaepernick?
I don't recall. But
I don't think they did.
But you know what they didn't do?
They didn't go out there and say his views are not those of the NFL organization.
Guess what they didn't do? Employ his ass. They didn't.
Right.
Butker's is still employed. You want to say Butker's gets fired? Then he got something. They didn't employ his ass. And in fact, if you're going to make the argument that it's all this DEI and they wanted to make sure that they were doing it, someone would have put him on the team. If you were a woke NFL owner, hang on.
He wasn't a good quarterback.
No, it doesn't matter. Remember, diversity, equity, inclusion. We got to have good players and bad players. We got to have players that can play quarterback and not play quarterback because that's inclusion and equity. Because we got players that are skilled and not skilled. If you wanted to make the DEI statement, you hire Colin, you put him on the back bench, and you bring him out there, and you have him do all the stuff. Nobody did that.
That's where I think, and I granted you this, the idea that the owners aren't fully into the DEI stuff.
Not at all.
But again, you don't see the NFL condemning Colin Kaepernick's views as are those that not of the NFL organization. They never said anything like
all
that.
I'm going to say is that one of them is still employed by the league and one is not.
And
that
this happened 4 days ago.
That tells me everything I need to know. If they fire Butker's because of this, then I can come into your camp. I can get closer to it. As of now, when one is remaining as an NFL player and one can't get a contract, tells me everything I need to know about how woke the NFL is.
I'd love to hear from our callers and text messengers about this. What do you think about Harrison Butker's speech? We didn't get to all of it. I only played what change.org kind of clipped, but he gets into men, embrace your masculinity as well. Don't buy into this effort to kind of push that down comes from the culture. It was a traditional social conservative worldview put out there during his speech. I think the people of Benedictine probably loved it because I know they're board members and a bunch of kids who attended it, and they probably agree with it. Are you glad he spoke out, or was it homophobic, sexist, and the NFL league should kick him into the curb?
Would you sign the petition? Would you? Are you mad enough that you'd sign the petition? Is this just another thing where change.org is trying to get attention on an issue that really means nothing? He was doing this as a private citizen. The other question I've got is, so it's your college commencement. It is your graduation. How excited would you be over an NFL kicker? Does that fulfill the promise? Because for me, I'm pissed. I'm real pissed.
Hey,
I don't care about what he says.
I've given a commencement speech, and an NFL kicker would be a lot more exciting than my own commencement speech. All right. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710K NUS app. Are you tired of living with constant back pain, robbing you of the joy in life? You're not alone. Back pain affects millions, impacting quality of life, but there's hope. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common, from muscle strains to herniated discs. Symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with movement. Why risk surgery when there's a safer option? With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Call 303-900-8986 or visit painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation today, and be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. 303-900-8986 or painfreecolorado.com. 5600. NFL's a communist organization. I stopped watching when the communists started taking a knee instead of pledging allegiance to the flag.
How's that coming?
Bill, you're wrong as usual.
But Coleman, tell me
History's
why.
repeating. DEI is communist despotism. Inclusion and tolerance is fantastic thought and speech control.
Wait,
the Catholic ball player's speech was accurate.
My brain hurts a little bit there.
Morning, guys. The NFL is still playing the Black National Anthem.
But DEI, communist? Is that, I mean, if we go back and we think about, the Iron Curtain, USSR, we think about with Stalin, we think about Lenin. Do we think inclusion? Do we think diversity? Is that really? I mean, come on, caller. Get texter. Give me a call here. Explain to me how communism and DEI are connected, because last time I checked, Stalin would take the gay people and kill them. Last time I checked. So I doubt and I disagree with you. You think communism? Look at Putin. How embracing of the woke culture is Vladimir Putin? I'll give you a hint. He's not. So stop it. Stop it with the name calling as far as DEI is communist. Just stop it. I mean, Mike, make your case, call in here, but stop that just mindless name calling. Either figure it out or stop doing it.
2820, Mike dropping point, Bill. One is employed and one is not. That says everything.
Does.
FYI, Harrison Butker is not a New Order Catholic. He is traditional. Maybe the FBI will get sicked on him. They were checking into some of those Catholic groups. All right, I want to talk to you about UltraCur. We all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. As you get older, you got to keep moving, guys. And if you're dealing with pain, like I do sometimes with our workouts, UltraCur is the solution. It's a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Guys, a whole bunch of those other curcumin products make you buy a 3-week prescription, whatever. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial with no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Russian President Vladimir Putin is in Beijing for talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two leaders signing a joint statement strengthening a new strategic partnership. From Hong Kong, Laura Westbrook reports.
Russian President Vladimir Putin described talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping as warm and businesslike, and the close relationship between these two leaders was on full display. Xi Jinping said that China was ready to be a good friend, partner and neighbor to Russia. President Putin said that they had discussed the war in Ukraine and that both sides agreed that a political settlement was needed. Beijing has been coming under increasing pressure from the United States to stop exports that aid Russia's war effort in Ukraine.
For the first time ever, a taco stand has been awarded a Michelin star. The coveted award from the French Dining Guide was awarded to Arturo Rivera Martinez. Now, he is the owner of Tacos El Califa de Leon, which is a humble taco stand in Mexico City's bohemian San Rafael neighborhood. Martinez says the secret to a good taco is keeping it simple and washing it down with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. I think that is advice we can all agree with. That is what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Your KNUS 5-day forecast is going to bring a lot of sunshine back to the Denver Metro today and through much of the weekend. High pressure over the four corners will allow for highs in the mid-70s today and lows tonight in the lower 50s. Upper 70s and some low 80s on the plains for Friday. Might get a little breezy to end the work week, but we're keeping it dry. Lows Friday night in the lower 50s. For the weekend, upper 70s, low 80s, isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, text messages coming in hot on this one.
A lot of them.
The NFL, I'm seeing this is from 7061. I'm seeing an awful lot of woke messages being sent on the back of those Nike helmets at every NFL game. And we all know who Kaepernick gets paid by.
Who? Not the NFL.
Not
Doesn't
the
have a job
NFL.
there. So, I mean, again, I fail to see the connection between the things and the messages in the back of the helmets and the other stuff. And here's the idea is
They're
if
not
you're
condemning those messages, and they're condemning Butker.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand why we're so mad about the NFL players being given the ability to speak and things like that. I mean, putting stuff on.
Well, that's not the point. The point being, in one case, they're like, yes, put it on the back of your helmet. We love you guys.
Yeah.
And wow, men should embrace their masculinity, and it's great for women to become mothers and all that stuff. Condemn that.
Have they told Butker that he couldn't have those messages or anything on the back of his helmet? I mean, again,
Well, they just put out a
NFL
statement saying that they do not support his messages.
Yeah, they don't, but they didn't say he can't have them. They didn't say he couldn't do it. They're not firing him. They didn't say that Butker's is not allowed in his private.
Butker puts on the back of his helmet, embrace your masculinity, then I'll grant you that argument.
Or he can put a Bible verse on the back.
Or under his eyes, like Tim Tebow.
Whatever they want. Well, again, they could eyes, but I'm talking about back of the helmet type stuff. I mean, that's the issue is that the NFL for their employers, the employees in the union, they got out of the way for that. And I fail to see how that's necessarily woke. But I get the conclusion because I understand the idea that when someone was, again, I don't want to get into it, but the idea of even over how we're still mad about the kneeling during the national anthem. Yeah.
Disrespected the national anthem.
Yeah. Because that's the one thing that shows freedom is mandatory participation in something. That's the one thing that is emblematic.
Disrespectful act.
No, it isn't.
Tony from Denver. Harrison Butker's wife would be really upset about what he said if she was allowed on the internet.
That's funny. That is really funny.
Tony from Denver. 8422. Bill, you're missing the point.
Oddly enough, they don't explain it to me. That's all it is. It's just this. I mean, I get frustrated with the number of times that people just text in and call me names and then just say, I don't understand something, and then don't do anything with it. I mean, you can call me all the names that you want, but it doesn't make you right. I mean, I've dealt with that all my life.
5,600.
There's no explanation.
NFL is anti-American propaganda promoting anti-American ideology like the fascist condemnation of the Catholic ball players' Christian ideology. NFL exists to indoctrinate useful idiots. Huh.
Really? So NFL fans are now indoctrinated?
They condemned
Really?
Tim Tebow for kneeling during the game.
I don't remember that. I don't remember him being.
that.
I remember
it became a big movement. Tebowing, remember?
Yeah, there was a big movement Tebowing. I don't remember the NFL coming out and condemning him for any of it. I remember outside groups being mad about it, but I don't remember the NFL taking a single action based on that, which is odd because this is odd because he was allowed to kneel. It's just so the players can kneel as a form of respect, but they just can't do it when we're playing a song. It's the only issue.
The national anthem. It's not just a song. I got a question for you though. You're in charge of the Chiefs, and I want to get your answer in just a second. You're in charge of the Chiefs. What do you do? Do you dismiss this? Do you kick him to the curb? I want to hear from you, Bill, in a second on that. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can address erectile dysfunction issues. But if you're an older guy, your testosterone is going to go down naturally anyways. It's going to affect your energy levels, including your sleep, your ability to work out and build muscle mass, and your energy levels. So if you're struggling in those areas, give Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic a call and take their low T quiz on their website. It's right there at RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers, and it only takes 2 minutes to complete it. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes a medical consult, T and PSA test. If you sign up for the testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Give them a call today at 720-440-7900 or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. So, Bill, you're the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs. You're watching this thing blow up online. You have 105,000 signatures from change.org asking you to dump Harrison Butker, and you do what with your day?
I go to, again, I'm assuming that I'm high up in the Chiefs organization. So
you're the GM.
I've got a really pretty office and I've got a wonderful assistant. And so what I do is I look at it, I reflect on it. I go and I watch Harrison Butker's entire speech that he gave at Benedictine. And then I go out for a nice long lunch, maybe with some friends. And then when I get back to the office and I reflect on this and I get back to the office, that's personally what I would do. I would ask my assistant to print out the petition from change.org. And then I would promptly wander into the restroom and use it to clean myself up after I dropped a deuce. That's exactly what I would do, because that's what I think of it. I think that's how much actual validity and realism is contained in that petition. Again, I'm not happy necessarily with everything Butker said, and I'm not this universal supporter of the NFL, but this is just stupid. He did it as a private individual, and every NFL player should be allowed in a private capacity to go out and express their opinion, because involved in large team sports, you have a variety of opinions, experiences, and backgrounds, and bringing those people together to function towards one goal is incredibly difficult. The amount of times that inside of a soccer locker room, we discussed anything outside of cute girls you might be dating, music, and the soccer game, few and far between. Never, no politics, nothing else. That wasn't it. That's not part of the goal. And I'm talking, this is in college and things and beyond. It's not what we did. The only time I do remember playing with a semi-pro team at one time, that one guy, and this was during Desert Storm, one of the guys who really was a hippie. He drove a microbus, a VW microbus, total hippie. In fact, his name was Pete, and we called him Peace. Because again, that was him. He had the tie dye, and when he came to practice and everything else, it was Peace. So with Peace, he says, "Man, we're gonna do this Desert Storm thing, man. I'm gonna go block the Boulder Turnpike with my van. Me and my friend's gonna do that." And we looked at him and we went, "Peace, that's Boulder, dude. Might help if you went somewhere else in the state." And he's like, "Dude." And that was the conversation. Did he do it? No, but still, that's as close as we get to politics. So again, this is stupid. I would ignore it if I was the.
I think that's the right way to go too.
I might actually send Butker's a bottle of champagne for he and his wife, and just a reminder, and say, "Hey, we appreciate and support you doing this on your private time. Just make sure you don't do it under the NFL shield when you're doing it and speaking for the Kansas City Chiefs. We appreciate that you took the right approach to this one, and we will support you 110% in making this choice in the future. I hope you and your wife have a lovely evening."
Because there's other consequences. Look, if what he said was so offensive that his jersey purchases plummets, and the Chiefs can't make money with them anymore and all that stuff, then there's other options there. So if you really don't like what he said, you don't have to buy a jersey.
No.
You don't have to go to a Chiefs game.
Yes, not at all.
You can turn off the TV.
Yep. That is amazing, because guess what? TVs, now it's a surprise to some people, and radios as well, come with some special buttons. One that turns it on and off, another one changes the channel. And you are free to use those at any point in time in your listening or in your viewing career. So that's the issue, is if it was a blowback. Again, remember, Kansas City Chiefs, the owner was asked about the distraction that Taylor Swift has created around the team. And he said, "Do you have any idea what merch sales have done? Do you know how many Kelsey jerseys we have sold, the women's models, in the past 3 months? We don't care. We're going to deal with the same thing here with Butker's. We don't care. We're going to deal with it."
Text message here from 0069, our good friend. "Screw your Chiefs and Broncos. Real men wear black. Go Raiders. Just win, baby."
Well, it is. They do wear black, but that's only because they're in mourning, because the team is so bad. That's the reason. You guys have been awful for so long. That's the reason you wear black, is it's a permanent state of mourning. And I tease. I
just
love my
researched that, and you are correct. There's no record of the NFL condemning Tebow that I can find. Yeah, I don't think they did that.
I don't think they did.
I think they love Tebow because Denver did, because of the Tebow jersey sales.
Yep, and that's the part of it, is that eyeballs. They loved it because of what Tebow represented, and because he brought in a lot of viewers that didn't necessarily watch. It's the same thing with Taylor Swift. It was a Taylor Swift effect. It brings in a lot of other people that won't watch normally. Now, with Butker's, Kansas City, the controversy for me is actually pretty good, because people are probably going to wander in and see, "Oh, is this guy any good?" And people that support his statement at Benedictine are now going to watch Chief games. And if you don't watch it, probably weren't a Chiefs fan to begin
I guarantee you he'll be more celebrated when he walks out on the field than others.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
there'll be
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
single, woman in New York
Oh, yeah,
City
there
that
absolutely will be.
boos when he gets on
No,
TV.
but in KC, he is going to be a
KC,
superstar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Catholic KC.
Oh, I have.
You bet.
I have a very good. In fact, people that have been longtime listeners here to KNUS know good friend of the show, Craig DeAragon, who used to work here, works for a Catholic Broadcasting Company in Kansas City.
Yep.
I am intimately familiar with how ingrained in Kansas City, based on my experience with Craig and talking to him, on how strong that Catholic culture is inside of Kansas City. This is going to be celebrated. This is not a negative inside of that city.
Jeff Hunt here for American Financing. Everyone thinks mortgage rates are extremely high, but that's not entirely true. Mortgage rates are much lower than the average credit card rate of 22%. Think about how much interest you're going to be paying on that credit card if you're only paying the minimum payment every month. Oh, it just hurts my heart thinking about it. If you're a homeowner, a cash out refinance with American Financing can help you pay off that debt and lower your monthly expenses. They're saving homeowners just like you an average of $854 a month. Their salary-based mortgage consultants will show you how much you can save every month with no upfront fees and no obligation. You may even close in as fast as 10 days and possibly delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. Get the financial relief you need and stop living paycheck to paycheck. Call American Financing today. American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000. AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334 consumeraccess.org. When we come back, finally, we found something that can kill those wolves. I've got the story and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Dead wolf in Colorado, likely killed by mountain lion. Yes, we found a way. A dead gray wolf found in Larimer County last month was most likely killed by a mountain lion. Yes!
I was thinking it was going to be a former Broncos player, Derek Wolf. Because he took out a mountain lion last year, so maybe he'd go after a wolf this time.
I like it. We found a way to do it, and the mountain lions are coming to the rescue. And look, they're competing for the same food sources, right?
And that is fascinating. I mean, predator on predator territory battles, to me, that's fascinating because
cool.
It is really cool. It's really cool. It's one of the
video
nature
game
things.
worthy.
Oh, I know.
Movie worthy.
Yes.
The wolves versus the mountain lions.
It is. And we'd have the Godzilla and the monsters, and it's like that. And being a reptile fan, because of where they operate in the ecosystem, there's a lot of predator interaction there. So it's really fun to watch.
Nature is violent.
Oh, yeah, it is. Fun to watch.
I want to thank Heidi Gahnal for being on the show in the 7 o'clock hour. If you missed that, she called Governor Polis the gaslight governor because what he talks about and the reality we live in just don't match up at all. So if you missed that and everything else we talked about, go to 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. It was a whole lot to cover today. So thank you to all the phone calls and texts you've been listening to. The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Tomorrow, Bobert and Hanks. Don't miss it.